Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Jeremy, and I'm tired of people stealing Princess Bride from me, goddammit.
This is Aaron, I go by Treffinwood.
And you just joined the podcast where Jeremy invents movie categories just so he can name Princess Bride.
God!
Only to have the rug taken out from him.
Mm-hmm. All right. Quick announcements. Let's see, Parker, you're down to 3,098 probationary episodes. It's doing just great there.
I was going to give myself a special reward when I got to 3,997. So.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure we can get you there by the end of the episode.
Yeah, I was going to say
I bet you can't. I bet you can.
I can do it.
I don't bet.
As always, links for our Patreon and our affiliated partners in the show notes. I believe we still have no news.
Yeah, news is still slim.
I just checked in with my Asmodee rep. Still no release dates on any MCP stuff. Although I think it's the Shatterpoint stuff starting to get release dates, so there's going to be movement in the release line again. So hopefully that'll have some news soon.
I just want the news to be not December.
Not December.
I got a lot of episodes right on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to not be December.
There's some mini news.
Oh, what's that?
Of a personal nature. Personal MCP.
Ooh.
So I posted in our Discord, but there's going to be a North American team challenge about a week from now when this comes out, December 10th. I'm going to be on the Team USA, duking it out with Team Canada. Should be streamed all day long on December 10th to see which of the North American teams will reign victorious.
Nice. Battle for North America.
Nice.
Do they get Alaska if they win? Is it like Robot Jocks?
I think they get one of the tiny islands off Alaska. They don't get the whole thing, though.
Lame.
You'll notice how I didn't put Robot Jocks on my list.
I think most things should be handled Robot Jock style.
Yeah, that there should just be giant robots that fight it out for, real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And then it devolves into an actual fist fight. That's what it should be.
Yeah. Alrighty. So moving on into currently playing. I personally have been playing my Kingpin list. I think I've talked about it on the cast. It's basically just generic Kingpin-y stuff. I have a Hellfire Splash. It's not currently working out very well for the Hellfire Splash. It was just kind of a random idea though, so I'll probably end up swapping that out for something else.
For me, the struggle continues. I think Red Skull 3 is just a little bit slow. Something's going on there I don't dig. Moving on. Picked up X-Force. Don't know that that's going to work out either. I don't know, man. I guess it's just back to the dating apps. I don't fucking understand. None of it's really working out. So
you didn't feel the spark.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of waiting for something to work out and feel good. I might just be jamming a bunch of big guys in lists again and start smashing face. I don't know.
I love that. He's like, I'm definitely away from this. I'm so tired of just every game boiling down to one or two dice rolls. 2 weeks later, big guys again. Big guys are where it's at. Big guys won't let me down.
When you have 7 medium dice rolls and they don't work out, it's much more miserable than just having 2.
That's fair.
That is possible.
Well, I feel like this is a good point to talk about this. So one thing you told me when we were talking about your struggles with Red Skull 3 is not that it doesn't perform. It's that you don't have the I need something right now button because his dice are just really swingy. Because if you just roll and you don't trigger the leadership, it's just like I just have regular attacks. Mm-hmm. And because the way the leadership works, it inclines you to take models that don't have already I kill you buttons. Yeah. And so when you're used to having those I kill you buttons and then they go away and now you're just dice dependent, and you're like, well, I made 4 attacks this round and none of them spiked, so I guess I'm just a really bad attrition list now. It's like I can understand the frustration with that.
Yeah, I'm not. I think it's fun. It's a good list, like in my mind, for something like a 5 and under league kind of deal. Like it would have been perfect for that.
A what?
The 5 and less
What-
under.
What's that?
It's like
what
a
do you
street
mean?
level
I don't
thing.
understand.
Yeah, we ran
Oh,
one.
like some kind of like you have to
Nope.
go underneath like a certain bar.
What, like a limbo?
Yeah, like a limbo.
What's limbo?
Jeremy, you
Is
saw
that like
limbo
chaos?
video you sent me.
Limbo? That's
Jeremy
chaos,
sent me a
right?
limbo. Jeremy's a big limbo fan. He sent me a video about the world record of
Did you see
limbo.
that crazy woman?
Yeah. She went through like 18 consecutive 6-inch bars.
Wow.
She
Like, it
goes
was
from like
pretty-
standing straight up to like making herself flat in like 1
She
second.
just flattened herself out and slid right underneath the wall.
And someone in the background goes, "What the fuck is a spider?" It's pretty funny. So yeah, I don't know what I'm playing right now. It's chaos.
Cool.
Parker, you still playing games? What are you doing?
I
Still
don't get to
play
play
anymore.
games anymore. I just get to have my Thursdays obliterated by random happenstance.
Dogs having a heartburn.
Yeah, well, I got sick for one of them, and then another one I couldn't play because my wife does her monthly quilt guild thing, and so I missed that one. And then the next one was going to be a Friday because Thanksgiving interrupted the Thursday, so let's all get together on Friday. And then a snowstorm happened, and so I had to just literally drop everything I was doing and flee from my house to the in-laws because we were about to get snowed out from their Thanksgiving the next day. So I literally we evacuated my house as quickly as possible.
Did
so I
you
didn't get
take
to-
I'm so confused.
trip to
There was, like,
Wisconsin?
Yeah, there was literally like 2 inches of snow, and none of it stuck.
Not in Salina. In Salina, Kansas, it was 6 inches.
Oh, so
heavy
you
snow.
went there to get ahead of the snow to get to the place you were going.
Yes.
I see.
We knew the storm kept creeping forward and increasing in inches, and we're like, we are not going to be able to get into Salina if we tried to get there early in that
That
morning.
is a long drive in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So we were,
It's almost like going to Aaron's house.
yeah, almost. Long story short, I guaranteed a spot to play this week, and I'm going to play the thing we workshopped last time, which is my new Convocation Defenders crossover with not one, but 2 OG Healing Factor models. So it'll be OG Wolverine and OG Sabretooth, and I'm excited to give it a shot and see what happens if I put them down on the table. I think it will actually fit what they want
Are
to
you
do.
talking about tomorrow?
Yeah.
Store's closed tomorrow.
That's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow.
We're doing renovations.
That is not gonna lie. That's a donkey punch. But I'll get rid of it. I'll get over it.
I'm
I'll
just
feel
kidding.
better.
Anyway, cool. So, Aaron, what are you playing?
I have been playing a bunch of everything, trying to knock off my my remaining couple of models on my playlist.
You run out of time.
I know. It'll happen.
Just a meager 4 weeks left. 48 weeks down. 4 to go.
I actually have 34 individual instances of models that need to get put down.
Oof, that's gonna be hard.
I'm gonna have to like double up in games. So yeah,
Weren't you like way ahead of schedule a while ago?
yeah. I'm adding the core 2 to it to see if I can display every single thing.
Cool. All right, we'll keep us posted on that. But what have you been playing most recently?
My last game was X-Men.
Nice. Anything to report about X-Men? Are they
Oh.
still X?
I'm trying to run Sinister and X-Men. It's a bad idea. Just don't do it.
Okay, don't do it. All right.
No.
News at 11. Don't play
Yeah.
Sinister.
Probably never, but definitely not an X-Men. I figured
Ryan
Cyclops would help give him some power, and you could play Extraction on some healing characters to begin the game. It's not a bad concept, but yeah,
It's
don't do
cute.
don't do it.
Yeah. 4-point mind controllers that have damage reduction are not bad. Everything else is bad.
He's just superpower starved.
Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is I think people try and use the beam too much, like when they could just use him as a brawler.
Yeah. He just, I don't know. He ends up dying. Like, he's not immune to, damage. It still goes
Yeah.
through.
That's fair.
And if you force extract turn 1, you're not picking up anything because you have no power. Unless your
Yeah.
opponent feeds you a model that you can then use Cyclops leadership on. So if your opponent plays it correctly, your what's his name, Sinister doesn't get to have a significant activation at all. He just gets to start round 2 with 2 tokens. Like, it's very meh.
Yeah.
So.
Have you considered him in Inhumans? You get to move the power around, and you can use like Lockjaw to throw him up there, so you can like turn 1 beam.
I have not. So yeah, that would be a thing to do.
Because you're trying to get other models you haven't played in the list as well, right?
Well, I want to put the models in positions where I think they're going to be good, right? I just don't want to slam a
Or at
model
least
into a list.
acceptable, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, Sinister sucks. Well, yeah, because you just threw him into a horrible list, like that where he didn't belong. So
Weapon X with Sinister is bad. Sentinels with Sinister is bad. You're like, yeah, no shit.
right. So, and I have to give it a couple times before I can. Okay, is this a good idea or a bad idea?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I've done 4 games with him and Cyclops so far. After 4 games, I'm willing to say it's probably not a great idea. Chances are I'll probably just slam that list one more time to knock Sinister off the list, rather than trying to fit a whole, Inhumans list and, go through the rigmarole of the characters, detectives cards for one play of a character. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I am, however, intending to play Inhumans on Saturday in our team tournament.
Do you have a partner?
I do. Jason.
Who's your partner?
Mr. Wilborn.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to run a bunch of Marvel 2 and Inhumans and see how that works.
Don't you dare show Jason how to win games with Inhumans.
We'll
all
how to
be
win games
fucked.
with Inhumans.
Do what?
I said he knows how to win games with Inhumans.
He knows how to table people with Sentinels, too.
Yeah,
Yep.
see?
Kenny knows.
My favorite
Kenny
thing-
is like Jason Wilborn's, like, what's that guy from Knight's Tale that yells at everybody?
The Herald?
Yeah, he's
Paul
like
Bettany's
his herald.
character?
Paul Bettany, yeah.
Mhm.
That's like Kenny is Paul Bettany to Jason. He just follows him around. He's like, Jason tables people with Sentinels, just screams it at everybody.
It's actually I think he's supposed to be Geoffrey Chaucer. I think he even uses the name Chaucer, but I don't know if we ever hear his first name.
Hmm.
But yeah. Yeah, I think they make a comment about it at the end of the movie as well. That's another movie I've seen a million times.
Hmm.
My favorite thing about Jason Wilburn is I played him in a game once, and I said, I'm playing Avengers Day. What are you playing? And he said, it might be easier to tell you what I'm not playing, because I think he had 5 leaders in his list,
Mhm.
and he purposely was just trying to play 5 different things. That was the idea. I think maybe it wasn't 5.
Can
maybe
you
it was
build
4.
a Penta affiliation?
Yeah. He was the whole point was to play as many things as possible. It was pretty fun.
That works.
Mm.
Your test worked.
It's backwards.
It's readable. Readable.
I'm not writing anything down. Can't make me.
You need to
I'm
write
just
it
gonna
down.
type it.
It's not fair.
I'm going to type it.
Okay.
All right. So I guess that will take us into our main segment. My plan was to talk about Kingpin a little bit and like the way he interacts with the meta. Jeremy said that he's got some kind of surprise segment, though. Is this integrated into our Kingpin talk?
No.
Okay.
It's
Would you
two
like to go
separate
first
things.
then? Okay.
No, you go first, and then we will end with this. It'll take
Okay.
it'll take as much time as we want. But
Okay.
we can do
So
yours first.
So you've got a daily bugle segment, and
Yeah.
we're gonna do a random segment. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I didn't have any like hard talking points for this today. I was just wanted to talk to you guys because we've had a lot of like weird opinions of Kingpin floating around with people I've talked to lately, and after playing Web Warriors for 6 months, I have a very specific opinion of Kingpin after playing him in like. What is it? It's like 6 or 7 games, I think, in a row. This model's fucking broken.
I'm only
What
taking
the
peta
fuck
flips from
is
now
with
on,
this game?
regardless.
Yeah.
From now on,
Who
peta flips
allowed
only.
this to happen? I don't know if I've ever actually played Kingpin Criminals before. I thought I had, but now the longer I think about it, I think I was just playing him in Spider Foes.
You were like, these things are
Because-
easy.
Because this was like 2 years ago, right? And it's like, as soon as like I was like, I'm going to play Criminals next. And then like Aaron was like, joined the game. And it's like, I'm going to play Criminals. Like, all right, that's fine. He play Criminals. And like, I don't know that I've ever really played them for more than like maybe 1 or 2 games as an offshoot. What the fuck is with this list? Like, I've played against it a bunch, obviously, but I've never thought less about games than like the last week. Like,
Okay,
I'm
okay,
like
please.
inside, I'm just like, there's just like cuckoo birds and shit going off inside. I'm just like, oh, I guess I'll move this model here. Like, it's like, oh, cool, points.
Okay, so tell me what is the list? You've talked about it so much. What is it?
The list? I've definitely talked about it on the cast.
You could say it out. I guarantee you could guess. Like, it's not even complicated. There's nothing
Okay.
special in it.
It's unfortunately it's that bad. Yeah,
No,
it's not even.
special
It's
in
not
it.
even. So the thing that has me like this is like this is so far from optimized. It's literally just I added 6 models and said, "Oh, I guess I could play Hellfire Club." Like that's how stupid this.
Oh,
list
it's
is.
this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm with
So
you.
it's Kingpin, Ulik, Rhino, Crimson Dynamo, Bill, Emma, Black Cat, Lizard, Taskmaster, Bullseye.
Mhm.
So the obvious criminals, and then there's like a small splash of like important characters, and then also I threw in Emma because I was like, well, in my head, Kingpin's really strong early, and then Emma's stronger the longer the game goes, and so I thought there'd be an interesting coin flip there, where it's like, oh, you have like enough board control to slow me down, so I'll just play the long game. And so, but so far it hasn't been relevant at all, and it seems like a just objectively worse option every time. And so maybe I'm just getting weird missions. I will definitely say I think I've won priority 5 of 7 games, which is clearly going to skew it a bit. But the 2 times I lost, we played Gamma and Demons, and it's like it did not feel hard at all. It's like I don't think my opponents were actively making terrible decisions. Like clearly I was playing like competitive games, but it's like it just didn't feel like there was anything they could do most of the time. Like there were maybe stuff they could have done differently to like make the point situation better. But I think the smallest margin of victory I've had has been like 10 points.
Well, our game was definitely, I was trying to play attrition, and it wasn't even strong attrition, really. So, I mean, I got smacked in the face and almost lost on turn 2 both games. Like, it was just like full throttle. There was nothing I could really do
we were
about it.
literally 2 die rolls away from me scoring to 16 on 2. If like 2 die rolls go the opposite way, like he literally loses on turn 2.
So, just for the sake of people who have not experienced the power of Kingpin before, let me see if I can paint a middle picture. You tell me if I'm way off. It's you get a bunch of secures on the board. Your 3s and 2s just fan out in such a way because you have so many models. You're just putting one of them on each one in such a way that it's difficult for them to attack you on turn 1. And then on the next turn, you just rotate all the models because they've been damaged, and so you just move them to a place where they'll be less damaged and move the fresh models that were on the secures closest to your side to those more dangerous ones, the contested ones. Is that like the formula, or was it something more complicated than that?
Kind of. So with the old list, that's kind of how it worked, where it's like you're constantly running away with your little squishy guys. Now it's more of like you're playing a higher percentage of 4-pointers than ever.
You did have a lot of those models. List,
yeah, a lot of those models are like Bill, Dynamo, Rhino, Kingpin, Ulik. Like those models don't die easy, and so really what you're just trying to set up is matchups that you're not disadvantaged into. So like Bill into Mystique isn't great because you can't DR, so like you obviously want to avoid something like that. But Bill into normal rapid fire people is amazing, and so you're just trying to set up on opposite sides. But because almost all of these models have some kind of movement gimmick, they're pretty strong into board controls. Like if you have like a push attack, well, it doesn't matter if I have aggressive, and so it like counter controls right out of it. And then there's some other models that have like action economy, which doesn't work after you've activated. But like Rhino is so hard to get off a point. He's size 4 with aggressive. Short of Juggernaut, there's not many other models that are harder to get off a point. Emma can go into diamond form, so she can effectively have helmet. Bill also has aggressive, and then like all the other models are just pretty big, which makes it harder to move them. So on the first turn, my blues are Cosmic Invasion, Riots, and Scoundrels. So we're either playing a D, which is really good for Kingpin because there's only 2 like neutral secures, and I get the back one basically for free. And so even if you have 4 models and you send 2 of them to each point, if I send 2 of them to each point, I win by 2 on both points. And so you're committing 4 models to still lose the blues. And so a lot of people don't even think it's worth it. They just go for all the reds. But if you win Prio as Kingpin, you're going to have a safe extractor. So you're probably getting, the half plus 1 of the reds. So if we get a 5 extract, you're getting 3 extracts and 3 secures on turn 1. If you're scoring 6, so they're probably getting 3 or 4 on a good day. And so you're just starting with like a 3-point lead, and then turn 2, they have to start killing people. which your whole list is designed to stop them doing. And on turn 1, it's really hard for them to do anything about the numbers game, because most of their models that can have board control don't have enough power to do so. And then also it's like, don't be an idiot with like order of activations. Like, don't move up your models before their board controllers have activated. But for the most part, it's kind of a back and forth, but sometimes they don't really have a choice. That's why when I was playtesting for Webs into Criminals, I added Peter 1. And he was so important, because having Shuri, Peter 1, and Gwen, you've got potentially 4 turn 1 controls that can happen. Or even 5, actually. You can have 5 turn 1 controls if you hit triggers. And so with that, you can play that game with them. And normally people can't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, counterpoint, my last competitive game was Criminals. And I was essentially tabled on 4.
Yeah.
So it is highly dependent on the team you are playing. Everything
True.
you said is correct. Like, yeah, I'm just going to go up hard on secures. And I did. Like, I took
Mhm.
both. It was on Riots. I took both sides in the back. It was, I think, Virus. And they were able to get 2 of them through the play of Can I Borrow That? So I still go up 4-3. I go up 4-3 again the next turn. But this was against Inhumans. Like, the attrition was just so high with
Mhm.
CGR. It's just like, okay, he took Rhino. He dazed him turn 1. KO'd him on 2. Did the same thing with Black Cat, and by the time turn 4 rolls around, I have 2 models left, and they're both dazed at the end of the turn, and I lose 15-9. So
Yeah.
the way to beat Kingpin, it's not that he's unbeatable, right, at all. First of all, don't give him 5 extracts. So, yeah, if you're playing Scoundrels and Cubes or Spider Infected, you're set up really, really well as a Kingpin player.
Mhm.
But like in my situation, which was Riot's Virus, if your opponent has a way to flip that other extract, instead of going up 5-2, which is reasonable, it's 4-3. And that's not a large enough lead for Kingpin to win out just by surviving.
Mhm.
But you've got to have the attrition to put the big models, whether it's Bill or Rhino or Kingpin, in the dirt.
Yeah. It just... Go ahead.
Say, because of that, I think Kingpin has a strong win rate into the field, but his list is a gear check. Like, can you kill me fast enough? The reason I don't think Kingpin is, I think he is a strong meta influencer, but I don't think he is a boogeyman. He's not going to win a lot of events, because if you can meet that gear check, like, Kingpin doesn't have a plan B. Like, what is that? Bill, Lizard, Rhino all of a sudden need to turn on the attrition damage? Well, okay, that's a bunch of people rolling 5 dice with no mods, right? So they can spike, sure, but they don't have the attrition output to have a plan B. So Kingpin is usually plan A, ride or die. And for that reason, he's going to have games where he meets someone like a CGR, Inhumans, or Guardians that's going to be able to punish him if he goes to take those center points on a D. And then he just loses, like I did. So he's super strong. I really think Kingpin goes 4-2 in a competitive tournament. There's an outside chance he'll do worse than that. He could win the whole thing, but I think realistically, Kingpin will have a better than average win rate, but will find it hard to take down the event without an outsized portion of luck.
I have a question. I have a question, Aaron, specifically for you. While you mentioned exactly like tournament success, I was not there for one. I believe it was in Nebraska that you went to, and I remember you reporting on it, or rather, I was hearing about it. Maybe as is kind of being reported live by people who could watch it, or getting messages that you were playing Kingpin, and you just kind of sailed through the entire thing. But I also know at that tournament you got all the secures you wanted. I don't know if you remember this tournament vividly. Is that something that a Kingpin can do as long as he keeps getting the missions, or is it really? Do you think something has changed now, and there's enough kill out there that missions aren't enough alone?
I definitely, not to take it away from Aaron, but I definitely think the priority role is more important for Kingpin than anybody else.
I will. There are some other hard scenario teams that really want the priority role, whether it's Webs or Avengers. But yes, it is hugely important for Kingpin. Having said that, it actually hurt me in the game I just played, because if we were 5v5 and I had to move onto that point or seed it, and he just got to be like, okay, well, now I just shoot you a CGR and you die. My game plan into that was I have to hope he rolls bad. I still think that's the right call. He did not roll bad, like, throughout the game. But
So
yeah,
my
it would
question
have been
is,
worse
now
if
do
I
you-
had demons or
Good.
something. So yes, you need to have good scenario. Or I have never played Kingpin as a Kingpin only plan. I have always had a second leader to deal with a bad scenario or a pay to flip. Like
I don't know. I think that's true. I think the tournament I just mentioned, that's the first one where you debuted the I'm going to play 7 guys or something like that on 20 points or whatever.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, but
that was Springfield last February and a half ago, a year and a half,
That was the
almost 2
old
years.
mission pack.
almost
Yeah.
2 years ago. Okay, so that's a wildly different meta that I'm remembering.
Yeah, wildly different. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Field
not
dressing meta.
irrelevant information, but it is dated.
I would not currently play Kingpin without a second leader.
Yeah, that was before the restricted list update and the mission update.
Yeah. Field dressing was really key for that list.
Field dressing and med
That's
pack.
right.
Yep.
The field dressing was still there and really important. That's right. Well, I just wanted to make sure our listeners understood that your earlier statement about never having played Kingdom by himself was a lie. Can you continue?
Sure.
Anyway, though, I definitely agree that the list has bad matchups. But the bad matchups are primarily RNG based, I think, currently. Like, there isn't a matchup where it's like, I drew this enemy and I don't think I can win the game. Obviously, the hard attrition teams that also have a little bit of board control are definitely more scary than the rest, I think. But with where the meta cycle is right now, I feel like we've got the hard scenario presses and the hard, like, aggro lists, which are primarily only CGR, maybe a little bit of Inhumans on its own. So, of ways that you can combat the CGR aggro lists, why is Kingpin worse at it than any of the other scenario players?
I personally think he's worse because, like you said, you're taking your 4s. CGR will still one round your 4 just as well as he will one round your 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you're sinking points into relatively expensive models and not getting your worth out of them. So you'd be better off going wider against CGR and having an extra body that can then sit on a point.
I don't disagree with that at all.
So specifically, if you're talking Kingpin into CGR. But anyway, go ahead.
How, with specifically the 4s that you're playing, it's like the big ones are obviously Kingpin, Rhino, and probably Bill. So of those 3, does he commonly one round all 3 of them? Or any of them, really? It just seems to me like that's some really skewed, like, yeah. Let's see. I'm actually curious.
I want to say it's probably a little, it's coin flip-ish to kill Rhino and less than a coin flip for Kingpin. It all depends if you're incinerating and pulling too. I'm assuming you are.
I think first turn's the only questionable one. The rest of them, it's you get a range 4 energy in your face, and then you get a 12 dice mystic. That usually does it.
Yeah, and again, not to harp on the one game, but it was relevant. I mean, Quicksilver, Speedsters, double taps Rhino does like 2 damage. Steals the objective that I picked up, and now CGR finishes him off with 2 attacks. So I guess in that specific example, like, dice be dice, but CGR did 5 of the 7 damage while Quicksilver did the other 2.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you lose a character to a Daze turn 1, I think you're rowing uphill.
I definitely don't disagree with that.
But whether it's Crystal or Quicksilver or Black Bolt, they are all attacking the midline.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree that Kingpin likes D's. However, against a list specifically like that, or potentially Guardians, that can punish you sitting on a D on turn 1, I think those lists I think they have a leg up on Kingpin in that they're able to put out that early attrition. More so than other lists that don't or can't.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like when you play an aggro list like that, you put so much of the game on, like, the sets of dice you're going to roll within the first 2 rounds. And I understand that, like we're both players are playing that dice game on opposite sides, right?
Yep.
Like, and so Kingpin needs the dice to be bad, and CGR needs the dice to be good. I think on the averages, I feel like you're still going to end up out like getting to 16 eventually, depending on the scenarios. Obviously, all of the aggro players are playing minimum scoring, which is going to bring that down a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's the issue I have, and the whole reason I want to talk about this is we obviously have that boogeyman in the meta right now of the CGR super aggro, but I feel like these lists like this, like the Web Warriors, the Sam Vengers, and the Kingpin Criminals, are requiring people to play the game in such a way that you can't play the things that might actually be good against CGR. Because, like we've talked about briefly here, if you don't have the tools to beat Kingpin, it almost feels like an auto loss. Because he doesn't need to roll dice. You, in fact, need to roll noticeably above average to have a chance. Like, if you bring almost no board control and you don't have, like, a strong mission kit against him, and you, like... So, like, if you're bringing pay to flips, it can slow him down a bit, but he's still getting points. And then, obviously have a lot of board control or stuff like that. What's your thought? Do you think you have any chance at all if you're not playing hyper aggro or board control against Kingpin?
I think you're behind the 8-ball. I mean, you can never say you don't have a chance, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have board control, you better be able to daze his characters no later than round 2.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's able to rotate, like say you put 5 damage onto Rhino, and instead of going to town, he just rotates to the back point and then sends up Bill, who was on the back point. Yeah, you're gonna have a really, really hard time, and you're probably gonna lose that game.
Yeah.
No, you need to have. I don't want to say an answer to Kingpin, because I don't think the answer is just Kingpin. But you either need to have, I think what you said is attrition, or displacement.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that there's a super competitive list out there that doesn't have one of those two. Right? Like if you're not playing the scenario game, then you either have to deny them scoring, and you do that by displacing them or killing them. If you're just putting down 5 models because you like them, then great. But we're talking about competitive rosters here, so
yeah.
I didn't fear Kingpin when I was playing Sam Vengers because almost everyone in my list had displacement. Same thing with Webs. You talked about Peter 1, right? So you bring the tools you have specifically against Kingpin, but they work in a bunch of other matchups. I mean, I played Webs into, Hellfire recently, right? And I brought Peter 1 because I wanted to have that extra displacement because of paranoia. So Peter 1 was in the list, not specifically to counter Kingpin, even though that might have been why you brought him into the list. But it turns out displacement's just good in a variety of situations.
For sure.
So, yes, if you're building a list, it should either be able to kill people or move them off points, or you're probably going to have a hard time into a bunch of different lists. Kingpin is one of them. I guess the only point I want to make is if you run into Kingpin and you think after the end of the game, you're like, well, that sucked. I had like 0 game into it. This list is broken as shit. I don't think the Kingpin list is broken as shit. I think it is very good, but there are some definite counters. And just because you didn't have any of those counters in your list does not mean it's a horribly unbeatable list. Let's put it that way. Even though I totally understand that particular game felt like it.
I think Kingpin is the rawest form of what we've seen a hyper-competitive list look like. They take as much RNG out of the game as possible, and they just beat you with raw numbers. Like, I'm gonna double my models standing on points. I'm going to have the hardest to kill models I can get for the point cost, and I'm just going to stand here and win the game automatically. And if you don't have an answer, you don't get to play. Is kind of what it feels like. I think he, because of that, is one of the earliest negative play experiences a lot of people will have when you're first starting to get into the competitive environment. I think Parker's asleep. That's 100 episodes. Let me put him down real quick.
I was not asleep.
I was not asleep. You were snoring.
Well, I'm not. One of the things that Kingpin does to me is it recalls the couple of times that I was like, "This, I love, solid bricky lists." It's one of my favorite things that I discovered I liked about minis games. I thought I was going to be always about the super high speed or highly accurate, lots of rerolls. I really wanted that, but a couple of minis games I've played that I liked just big chunky boys being chunky and marching across and being the unstoppable force or the immovable wall or both. And so I thought Kingpin might be that, but it's not really that. And I find it's a little bit like solitaire, and that's one of the reasons why I think people get such an NPE when they play against it, is because your opponent doesn't oblige you with the things you were doing, which was like rolling dice. They just kind of watch you roll dice at them and cross their fingers that you don't spike. And so if you have anything to consistently make spikes happen more often, or if you fill your list with dangerous spikers, then they'll just have kind of a sad day, and you'll walk away going, I guess Kingpin's not that dangerous, because you optimized your list either for damage or for displacement, and so you watch the Kingpin player not get to play his solitaire. But I think I'll never worry about Kingpin in a competitive setting, because I don't think there are that many people who want to play solitaire. That's not something that I think that a lot of people want to do.
I think
it doesn't show
current
very often.
Current Kingpin list definitely has more interaction than it's ever had before, but it is still very. I'm trying to ignore my opponent as much as I can.
Right. That's your best case scenario, is you don't have to deal with your opponent. Yeah, you can just stand there and score.
The interesting part is if you ever get frustrated because your things aren't working, Kingpin is a great list for you.
That's
because
true.
Turns out nothing fails when you're just saying I use superpower X.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to roll dice, so you really just don't care. You're like it's some of the most stress-free games I've played in a while, because you're not going, man, I hope I hit this trigger. You're just like, I spend 3 power. I would like to do this now.
The one thing I found.
I think it's
the one thing I found about playing against it. Man, Black Cat is fucking stupid. Like,
really dumb.
Put everything else aside. That doesn't matter. Black Cat and her new hotness abilities in that list, she's like the tankiest fucking model that can then steal your shit. It's ridiculous.
It's really dumb.
I mean, she's either hot or not.
He actually diced her off the board twice, and it didn't even matter. She was still busted. Like, she still won the game almost by herself, it felt like.
I have a question for you guys. Best restricted tactics card for Kingpin's list. Go. I'm just curious what you guys think they are.
Probably Brace.
Definitely Brace. I think that, if I had to pick one, it's Brace.
You have too many big models to be thrown into your other models.
If you're bringing a Rhino, you have to bring.
You know how to kill Cat? You throw Rhino into her. That's how you kill Cat.
Yeah, I totally see Brace. So what's the other one?
I actually play Patch Up currently. Sacrifice is very good. Being able to sack onto like Kingpin or Rhino when they really don't want to. It's like, oh, I moved Rhino off a point. I'll just ignore him now. Cool. Sack from Black Cat to Rhino, and you're like, this game is annoying.
Mine's actually Indom.
Indom's solid. It's just
that was my first choice was Indom, but I was curious.
So if you're, I don't think there's a right answer here. But if you want to lean into your strengths on the Ds, you often aren't going to be positioned to play Patch Up or Sacrifice because you're too spread out. I think Patch Up and Sacrifice are better when you end up like on an E, like you're screwed and you're like, oh, I've got my people all together. So on the Ds, I'd rather have Indom. And on the other ones, I probably would rather have the other cards.
Brandon, are you playing Gamma in your list? In your set?
No.
Okay, I was just curious because you mentioned it. You mentioned in one of the posts that you were playing on Gamma.
Scoundrel.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Jeremy's Gamma.
Okay, so you're playing with Jeremy's Gamma, but you said you were scoring a lot off the Gamma.
Yeah, because if we get his blues, then we get my reds, so all my reds are 5+ scoring. But yeah, so the game that we played that was really one-sided was due to a random trigger of aggressive allowed Rhino to get to his back point, which is really silly, which is just definitely not fair. Rhino should not be able to robbery you while standing on your back Gamma. It's really stupid. Jeremy, do you agree?
I stopped listening.
But yeah, Rhino is definitely an absolutely insane tool in that list. Like his ability to cross the entire table with ease while still making attacks and throwing things. The best asset he brings to the table, honestly, is he throws all the fucking terrain so it doesn't get thrown into you. Like, I don't even care if I throw shit into you. I'll throw the size 4 into a size 3. Like, fuck it. Like, just get rid of this fucking terrain. Like, everything I can do to lower my opponent's instances of damage is great. Patch Up also on Rhino, God, just makes it feel like it's so punishing. Like, oh, I did 4 damage to Rhino. I was like, no, peaceful health. It has 10 power. And you're like, God damn it. So, do you think that, and this is for everybody, you are better served playing baked potatoes with a Kingpin or playing board controllers. Because I've had the thought of let's put in Gwen and Peter 1 into this Kingpin list and see what happens. But I feel like you actually like the survivability more than the slightly better board control. Because I haven't run into a situation yet where I wasn't basically scoring all the blues I wanted anyway.
Just trying to think board control wise. What does the list like you were playing have board control? What was
so?
Did you have any?
Bill throws. Kingpin throws.
Emma advances.
Emma can advance. Let's see. I've got Lizard can throw and push. Ulik, if I play him, which I have yet to, also has the pushes.
I was just thinking the games we played, the fact that you were unkillable versus what I had, just being alive was enough. I mean, you didn't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, turn 1, I think you had 8 points, and then basically scored the rest out. It was just kind of dumb.
I would say that going harder to kill is two of their strengths, because if you're trying to pick up extracts from your opponent when you have priority, and then make sure the secures are taken, making weaker characters just weakens that plan. Anybody who can be brushed aside by a lucky single attack, like Ghost Spider is a good example. You're like, okay, I double move Ghost Spider and pull you off the point. You're like, okay, well, I'll just spend my turn double tapping Ghost Spider. And she died on turn 1 or turn 2. And that's exactly what, we know is Kingpin's downfall, is people start getting dazed too fast.
She definitely hangs out in the back. She does not play like she does in Webs because you don't have the same defensive tools.
Right. So exactly, right? So that's what I guess that's my point, which is to say, if you are looking at it right now going, man, I really wish I had somebody in the back that could, help me with positioning, pull guys away with dangerous attackers. If that's what you need, then that would, maybe that's worthwhile. But I feel like with that game plan, Shuri might even be better, because she is affecting the game from far away. She's double pushing. She's passively allowing you to reroll your damage. Your probably not your damage dice, but maybe you're trying to fish for a wild off a push, or get a few get a few more hit points off of rerolls, defensive rerolls. So there's some things. Like if I was trying to play something like, if I wanted a back point model or a back B or a back E helper out of faction, I don't think I would go for something like Ghost Spider. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because Miles seems like you're going in the opposite direction.
I could keep wanting to put ASM in, but I don't think that works. He is a safe turn 1 grab that doesn't require a tactics card, and he's really good at standing on a secure and not dying. Yeah. I think ASM definitely fits into the theme. It would really just be, can you spend 5 points on ASM when, Ulik also exists? He doesn't have the safe extract, but he does have a similar ability to move across the table and attack, and throw and interact with some terrain and that kind of stuff. There's things he will do. He's similar to Spider-Man, he's more reliant upon his hit points and DR than dice. But yeah. But again, no safe turn 1 extract, which, like you said, really nice to have without a tactics card. Yeah. All right. Anybody have any other thoughts on Kingpin? The most boring leader in the entire game.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of the things that he's if you don't like losing to Kingpin, just consider going harder with one of the two strategies. I would never cry foul about the state of the game because Kingpin exists. You might get punched in the dick once by him and feel pretty robbed, but the answer is actually just playing some of the strongest stuff in the game, which is the reason why he doesn't get talked about whenever you're discussing what to nerf in the game. He's not part of that conversation because the best stuff in the game beats him harder, actually. So
well, yeah, and so that's part of what I'm curious about. Is it because the best things in the game beat him, or is it they're the best things in the game because they beat him? And if they can beat him, then they beat pretty much everything else.
I think one of the things that is happening is X-Men started being X-Men Blue now. So
instead of gold.
instead of gold. and you don't see. I mean, I guess you do see their pay to flip stuff, but you don't see Storm everywhere anymore. So it's really not a thing to be playing X-Men aside from the few people who still dig them. Because one got nerfed, so then that means they're trash, right? They must not be any good. And the other hotness is trying to shoot people off the board. So now Kingpin can run around and not really worry so much about pay to flips. Because I can tell you, you don't see too many pay to flips out there anymore. You used to, but now everybody's fighting in the middle. So you know that you'll probably get those points. I think it could be something that's flooding back in. I mean, we saw it at WTC. There was a lot of Kingpin. And we hadn't seen that in a long time. So it's possible, man, that this could be the new hotness. It's good. And like Aaron said, it's good. You can win games with it, and you might actually win a tournament with it, depending on who you line up against. Because it can definitely be blown off the board. It can definitely be, web warrior moved around and tormented in that way. But for 80% of your games, probably going to win those, like maybe even very easily. And especially for new players that are trying to get an edge up in a tournament, grab Kingpin and try that. Like, it's real dumb. Unless you run against someone who has been against it and kind of knows what's up. But we might see Kingpin a lot pretty soon.
Yeah, I think the pay-to-flips have mostly left the meta. They're definitely less prevalent than they used to be. But when it comes to pay-to-flips, that was part of the reason I went with the Hellfire Splash I did, because I think Hellfire is decent on pay-to-flips. They can get a lot of their power back, and they're totally fine to just sit there and overflip you all day long. But yeah.
I am pretty sure that a Storm-only game plan is still better than a Cyclops game plan.
You think?
And I think the
reaction, that's a hot take.
To the errata was knee-jerk, and that probably in the February time frame, perhaps prior to LVO, but I'm guessing a little afterwards.
Yeah.
You'll see people running predominantly Storm X-Men again.
Yeah. You mean with the other mutants come out, you'll think that's what you'll see?
Yes, I think people will gravitate back toward X-Men when the mutants come out, and they will quickly realize that Storm is still the best leader for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of in a holding pattern, and because the new mutants are coming, and they are also excited to finally play something different, because they've been playing, X-Men players have kind of just been playing the same list for like the last 2 years. They're like, hey, I can now do new things with, X-Force or Blue or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think they're just having fun splashing around in the other pools, and then they're planning on coming back when the Bishop and all that comes out.
Or they'll go straight to that sweet, sweet, bald Professor X.
Oh, God.
They'll just, because he'll be a leader, you know it.
True.
We do know it. They literally told us.
Yeah.
So, I don't have a lot of experience with Kingpin. How does he do against Sam?
He should lose, but it's not an auto loss.
Is it like really close, or just he's supposed to lose?
I'd need to know what's the scenario and who has prio. Sam should have the displacement to where Kingpin's only going to go up by a 1 or even parity in the game. Because if Kingpin has prio to grab the extract, then Sam gets to go last on what is probably a same number of models. And if Sam's going last, that means Sam gets to displace. So Sam's usually able to... Again, I played Kingpin twice at WTC, and I won both of them. So that wasn't a problem. Yeah. Now, a lot of it comes down to individual player skill, ability, the exact models you took, etc. I do think Sam is still advantaged in that matchup, though.
Yeah, my thought process would be whoever wins prio would be advantaged, but that's a fair point.
The issue is if the Kingpin player brings, Juggernaut, I think Sam has a harder road to hoe. Because Sam pushes a lot of size 2s, some size 3s, but when you start talking about 4s, other than Bill throwing people and Iron Man pushing, there's not a lot.
Yeah.
So that gets to be a little harder.
So I'm thinking is your only role, like with my list, you can displace Cat and Bullseye, and everybody else is probably staying put because, Bill's just going to aggressive off the push, so it doesn't matter. Same with Rhino. Oh, you can't push Rhino. Can't push Dynamo. So it's really just Iron Man, and then your Bill throw later.
Yep.
So yeah. Yeah, I would imagine whoever wins prio should be advantaged, but I would imagine losing prio with Kingpin can be potentially devastating.
But into Sam, you're running the same stuff, same missions.
Yeah. So that's helpful at least. Sam's probably not running as many Ds, but similar.
True. He probably has Infinity.
Yeah.
Which I actually think is possibly better for Kingpin because it mitigates some of the. Again, I lost my recent game because of the turn 1 attrition I took because I had to go into the center line for riots.
Yeah.
If I'd have been able to go parity on turn 1 on the secures, it sets me up for a better turn 2, right? So now I'm not dazed. I can get to his secures, etc., etc. So you're not hitting the gas as hard, but it's safer. Anyway.
Okay. Who, in your opinion, is the biggest weakness that Sam has, other than CGR, if you were going to say that? Because that's just dice.
So I don't know that current Sam is even the menace he was prior to Voodoo kind of getting nerfed.
I know the
I think
answer.
he's still
You want me
good.
to tell you?
Hey, what?
I know the answer. Do you want me to tell you?
Uh-huh.
The answer is Pat Dunford.
Pat Dunford is the weakness to Sam?
He's one person's particular weakness with Sam.
Gotcha. It's like a 49% issue.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The affiliation is webs. Sam, I think
so?
loses to webs. Yes.
Okay.
That was going to be my answer. Because they have a similar number of models,
yeah.
and they're going to be displacing as often as Sam does.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I'm sorry, more often maybe than Sam does per model. So.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I will go ahead and move on. I can't think of any other questions about Kingpin. It's just been a bit of a shock to the system to play it over the last week or so. Obviously, as I learn more with it, I'll learn more of the negatives, but it seemed very strong so far. Like when I picked up strong lists in the past, they never felt as strong right out of the box. Like Webs was like a 6-month development to get to the point where I was. And so obviously Kingpin has a shorter learning curve, right? Because it's more of a binary decision process, but
no.
Just
So
interesting.
Back in my initial journey into Marvel that you guys were there for, right? That was the first competitive list I actually, in my basement with Jason Wilborn, like I think he played Kingpin. I was like, that seems like a really good leadership.
Yeah.
Let me brainstorm. What if I played it wide?
Yeah.
Let's do this. And then I took that to the shop the next day, and you were like, fuck this list. I never want to play you again, Aaron. And and thus my competitive Marvel journey started. So yeah, it is a very intuitive, very strong early leadership for people who want that.
Yeah. I think it's funny how far the ripples of his leadership have kind of affected the meta as a whole, because like 2 years ago, everyone was scrambling to deal with Kingpin. X-Men, one of their selling points was they were really strong into criminals. Like, I remember that. And so it's just interesting. Anyway, so moving on, our next segment is going to be a daily bugle that Jeremy has brought to us, which is going to be some kind of flashcard-esque system, I think. I don't know.
So, yeah, I'm going to ask you guys some things, one question at a time. Everybody's going to write down an answer or type it or something, because no one can hear the first person and then just go off of theirs. These have to be revealed essentially at the same time.
What if I just change mine, though?
That's ignorant.
Okay. Doing it.
Then, after everybody answers, if you want to discuss or kind of back up what you said, then that's the talking point. Then we'll move on to the next one. This doesn't have to be in depth at all.
Oh, it's going to be deep.
Will it? So deep.
Yeah, I go very deep.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Born ready.
All right.
Numero un.
So, number one, the most important thing that everyone asks, without question, best model in Marvel Crisis Protocol is fill in the blank.
Oh, you know what we should do?
Define best.
You define it. Should we ask all of these, write down all of the answers, and then come back? You want to do one question at a time?
No, one at a time. We'll see how this goes.
Okay.
I don't want to...
That's fine.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Define best. You tell me, sir.
Okay.
All right. Got it?
I'm not done yet. I'm not done.
How long is this name?
It's very long. I'm deciding.
Oh.
I thought this was supposed to be quick.
All right, got it? Parker, who is the best?
Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme.
Aaron, who is the best?
It's Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Brandon, who is the best?
Why do I have to go last? You go last. Why do
I'm asking the questions.
Black Cat.
Holy shit. All right, explain yourselves, folks.
I have an easy sell. My model directly leads towards the one thing that wins the game. So
An unkillable anomaly born in
I mean,
hellfire.
She can spend power to score points. Many models cannot. So eat it. She also has the most defensive rules of any 3-point model. So like anyone who's played against her knows that she's a fucking bullshit model. You know how many times in the history of the universe somebody has been like, oh, I thought that person was going to win. What happened? They go, oh, he attacked Black Cat. And then that's all you need. You now know exactly what happened. Black Cat won the game.
Hey, I don't disagree. Parker, who is the best?
I said it was Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
Why?
You're defending yourself, though.
Because I don't know of another model that when you flip over a certain scenario, he just kind of says, I won, more than Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme on hammers. When you see hammers and you put down Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme, I don't know how your opponent takes that easily. I've never seen it happen. Maybe somebody can explain to me how it's so easy to happen, but I don't think it happens easily if you have priority with Dr. Strange Sorcerer Supreme on hammers, because you go +2 with him, and he uses hammers so well. He heals himself, he moves friendlies, he moves enemies, and he always has powers what to do. Now, he is specifically a model for exactly hammers. Otherwise, he's just a above average model. But on hammers, he's
best model in the game, though.
Yes. Because there's no other model in the game that says on a certain scenario you have an immense advantage.
Thanos is better.
Thanos is even better on it. Yeah,
but he costs 8, and Doctor Strange costs 5. That's why I put Strange over Thanos.
Wasn't best, not cheapest.
No, he best. He is better because he's cheaper and he has an equally strong advantage.
Oh man. So did you put the timestamp on that, Brandon?
I think he defended his point well.
Got it. Aaron, go. Who's the best?
It's fucking CGR, and you guys are both out to lunch.
It's not even close. You can't pick up hammers on turn 1.
Fucking my
yeah,
you can't even pick up hammers on turn 1. And he costs 6. That's way worse.
Yeah, he's by far the worst.
Aaron's gonna have a stroke.
Only one model in the game that is so fucking broken. He is being screamed at to be nerfed by every single member of the community. For what? Do I really have to defend this? Oh my god!
No, not really. Honestly,
no, you don't have to.
I think we're good. I refuse to be lumped in with these people because you said everyone.
Oh my god.
No, so I do think he exists outside of the bell curve, but I think a lot of models do. If I had to pick a singular model in the game to get nerfed right now, CGR is probably number 1.
Okay, you're still alive to me. Holy shit.
But I do think people are overreacting a bit.
No.
I can't be wrong about how I feel, Aaron.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I cannot.
Tell me how to feel.
All right. Well, you need to correct your decisions about BSG then.
Cat is extremely good, right? I mean, I've played against her many times since the nerf. I'm not going to argue that she's not a very strong model. You can, however, she does not line up across from you, and you're like, "Fuck! I have to change everything about how I want to play this game." Right? You might have to make.
She's also a 3-point model. You do actually have to change the way you think about the game if you want to win, and it was a close game already. No, I'm not going to argue that a 6-point model being an outlier is a bigger problem than a 3-point model being an outlier.
Sure. I'm just saying there is nothing this guy can't do, from action economy to fucking got your back on your turn to pulling you off points to just murdering you.
Okay,
you name it, he does every single fucking thing.
Okay, so pre-update, who was worse, Voodoo or CGR?
Ooh.
I don't even think it's a discussion.
I might have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Voodoo was
broken. Way worse.
Yeah.
He was just an auto win button on in a different way than CGR.
Yeah.
So the difference was
Maybe
he was just auto win.
Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas CGR at least has to roll dice that they are just strongly advantaged in his favor.
Everyone's losing their minds about CG. It's like, dude, you're going to lose 20% of your games because of your dice. Okay. Yeah, he's very good, but welcome to MCP. That's how it works.
Yeah.
I think Malekith was stronger at initial release.
Yeah, you might be correct with that.
Mostly due to the no offensive mods against him was dumb. Yep. It just removed the ability for you to counter him. And I think you can still kill CGR. It's just hard. Anyway,
Okay, moving
I'm ready
on.
for question 2.
Question 2. Fill in the blank. The model in the new core set that will eventually change the meta is...
Eventually, as in like not currently.
Yeah, not currently, but eventually, after some time and some practice, this is going to be the model. Yeah.
This is actually a good question. This is hard. I'm gonna pull a Parker on this one. So
Oh no.
Zemo.
All right. You'll have it?
No,
Do you have
but
to
I promise.
Google who's in the core set?
Yep, I promise not to be influenced by.
We'll
All right.
just make you go first.
Aaron
I have
goes
something
first.
written down, but I just need to double check.
The name?
No. So my answer is none.
Okay.
Oh,
None.
you son of a bitch.
There is
No,
no
you-
single model in the core set that will be
Okay.
defining the game in
That wasn't the
any
question.
any of the next 12 months.
That wasn't the question.
What would, read the question
Change
again.
the meta.
Yeah,
Is it change the
there will
meta?
be zero
So-
change to the meta
but
from the entire core
the
set.
answer is you have to pick one.
What?
You have to pick
I
one.
think one is a strong answer.
I call shenanigans.
That's okay. One is a strong answer. None.
Mine is Thanos 2.
Thanos 2.
It's also not an option.
What the fuck?
All right, I actually chose Ultron 2.
Okay.
And I think that both of the leaders are probably better choices, but
Okay.
I think Ultron 2 in the long term will cause more problems in the long run.
Okay. All right, Parker.
I'm actually going to say Invincible Iron Man. I don't think anyone's dove into that pool yet, but I think he's probably the only one who has a chance because he kind of unlocks the shield, single turn, whole team, big dice stack whammy. And that's the first thing I'm going to do as soon as I get him back from my painter is I'm trying that list. I'm going to see if it actually has legs.
Yeah.
Because we talk a lot about the ability to just, on one turn, make sure a model dies. But what if you do that to your whole list? My whole list for this turn makes sure that any of your models die. That
I don't
seems
think an
really
extra single die does that, though, right?
good.
Well,
it's
you
that
can
combined with a new age. So you do a new age plus Stark Armory, and all your entire list becomes incinerated, and I get +3 dice against your list. And
You can also play Hood and drop down Hood's gang.
yeah, you can do Hood's gang, but you
Okay.
can, if you want to stick with just Shield members and get there's now enough with the Black Widow also. She was my close second place because she goes, I think, in this list. She has strong energy attacks. And so you actually can now play enough Shield members with energy attacks to take advantage of New Age. Because before Invincible Iron Man, you couldn't. So you could easily play, if you want to fight me on ease with my Invincible Iron Man and all energy build with Human Torch and all the other energy guys in Shield now, you are going to get blown up so hard on some turn. But
Okay. So is that your
I
challenge,
don't
or
have
are
the
you going
models
to
yet.
build that?
What's that?
Are you going to build that?
Yes, it is currently
Okay.
being painted. I told my painter I need it now because it's the next thing I'm going to do.
Cool.
But
and you think Ultron 2?
I think Ultron 2 primarily due to Age of Ultron being a legal combination. In the very long term of the game, I think that's going to be the brick that creates issues. Kind of like going backwards in the meta, you run into stuff like, okay, well, we just now realized the Black Lotus is fuck busted. Or like dual lands are fuck busted. It's because later on it was a mechanic that was not okay that we didn't know wasn't okay at the time. Having a model resurrect, I think, is not okay for the game. And this model's good enough to be relevant while resurrecting. And that combined with, I think he's got generally a good kit overall. Not overly powerful, but it's good.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of got something in the works right now with him. I really like that convocation list I played with him in MODOK 2.
Okay.
So yeah, I think he's in the long term the most dangerous.
So Aaron, you don't think that anything there is going to stick? It's not going to become a thing?
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
If I had to pick one, it'd be Red Skull 3. I actually think he is the leader that will see the most, or the model that will see the most play. I think Ultron 2 is a good call. I can respect the Iron Man call out. I think Ultron 2 will die off a little bit as the new shiny wears off. I think Red Skull's 3 play will pick up over the next 12 months because I think he is a very solid leader with some very nuanced gameplay that people will enjoy unlocking. But I don't think he's going to warp the meta, but I think he'll be the top of the core box.
I think Red Skull has the highest ceiling of the two leaders. But I think Steve has the highest chance of breaking the meta.
Okay. All right, next. Ready?
Yep.
Right. The model that has to always die first is.
Ooh. Can I choose 2?
You can have your primary and then have your honorable mention.
Okay.
Everybody got it? Parker.
Black Cat. That
Black Cat
bitch.
has to.
That
Okay.
that bitch has to be on her backside. A lot of people are
I
scared.
think
A lot of people are
we're
scared.
going to
of
just
doing
say
that, but-
we're just going to say the answers,
Just
then
say
we're going
it,
to
then
talk about it, I think, is
okay.
what he's trying
Sorry,
to do.
sorry.
Aaron.
Black Cat.
I had 2 answers. The first one is the glass cannon, whichever one that is. But the actual model that came to mind was Gwen.
Yeah.
Gwen.
Did you also say Gwen?
Gwen.
Yeah.
Gwen. Honorable
Yeah.
mention, Voodoo.
Yeah.
He's
All right,
not what
so
he was, but he still needs to
Gwen
fucking
is the
die.
super hot button, so explain Gwen.
So the reason I chose Gwen is because all of the models that you want to kill, she's the one that you actually can. She has 0 personal defensive abilities, and if you have tactics cards to protect her, you need to burn those early, not late. And so every single attack you have that can attack Gwen needs to. Trust me, every person playing Gwen does not want you to attack Gwen. It's their first choice of your not target.
Okay.
Yep, everything Brandon said.
Okay. Parker.
I think Black Cat. A lot of people are scared to give her power, but I think as soon as you have the opportunity to lay her down, you do it so that when she flips over, you could do it again because she gets to do her thing so well. I feel like you have to remove her, and so I always make sure she just dies.
Throw shit at her. That's how you do it. Throw shit at her.
Yeah, if you have the ability to actually kill her, I think it's a really good choice. I
Right.
think the problem is like what I was saying earlier. If you go into her without the proper tools and you just come up one short, you can lose the game right there.
Oh,
So
sure.
I don't like that you're by choosing to attack her, you're accelerating your opponent's ability to fuck with you.
No, I meant specifically not because I have 2 4-dice attacks to throw at her, so I'm going to make sure
Right.
to waste my opponent's my model's activation to do 2 attacks on her.
Mhm.
I meant I have 2 attacks and a throw that she's in range. I have another model in range. Doesn't matter. It's Black Cat to me.
I just, again, like, if your opponent has Brace online, it's still really scary. Like, I've seen any number of models, like Black Bolt fail to kill her, and then it's just all of a sudden you lose the game.
I just feel like in my personal experience, if I don't kill her, she is going to affect the game in such a wild, unmanageable way.
Yeah.
So that is my that's what I've always felt like. That
Yeah.
This is my
No, I
option.
agree. Honorable
For me,
mentions?
it's a lot. I put her kind of in the same category as like Rhino. You kind of need to kill Rhino at some point because letting him do whatever he wants is bad. But you need to wait until he's hit that power threshold where you're no longer helping him. And so that's kind of how I try and deal with Black Cat. Like, I wait for her to have 4 power and then I try and kill her because at that point I'm not hurting myself.
What were your honorable mentions? You said you guys had 2.
Voodoo.
Oh, Voodoo. Okay.
Mm.
What was yours, Aaron?
No, I said the glass cannon.
Oh, whichever.
What
yeah.
What I mean by that is I look at an opponent's list and I'm like, okay, who's the one person out there that's going to have an oversized impact on my list that I can easily take down?
Like Killmonger.
Right, like a
Red Skull
Killmonger.
2.
Or, like you said, Gwen's a perfect example. She's not the cannon, but she's the one who you can kill without, worrying about the lifesaver shenanigans or whatnot.
I have a
In that
personal
Kingpin list is Bullseye, right? If Bullseye is going to be anywhere near the front line, just kill him because he's a lot easier to kill than, say, a Rhino or a Lizard. And he can put out the DPS when he needs to. So, anyway.
Every time I've ever done this, it's worked out, so I'm not going to stop doing it. For some reason, Pyro. As soon as I see Pyro, I'm like, fucking kill that guy. Kill him dead. He is fucking dead. Because when I don't do it, I feel like he makes my job such an uphill ice skate.
Money.
Yep.
But if I kill him, it seems like my opponent had nothing to do. Like, it was just like, oh man, my Pyro's dead. I lost. Like, I feel like he's not that. But when I leave him alive, it's just the worst. So I make it a point to kill him. This is a personal experience, though. I'm not suggesting everybody else kill Pyro immediately.
You are correct.
That's exactly like what he was saying. It's a glass cannon option. It's like somebody who will print money if they don't die, but they die easy. Like, you got to kill those people.
Yeah.
Like, you're giving your opponent free value if you don't.
All right, ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, on the other side of the coin, a model you should never attack is...
Do I do it?
Do I do it? Do I do it?
Never attack.
Still thinking?
I wrote something down, but I'm pondering until I have to choose. I'm ready. You can go.
All right. Aaron.
I again have two answers. The first
damn
answer
it.
off the top of my head is Black Cat. The second answer
What the
is
fuck?
none.
This is confusing.
Every model needs to die.
Yeah,
We can talk more later.
sure. Brandon.
I have Black Cat, and then like asterisk all criminal models. Rhino and Taskmaster also included.
All right, Parker.
They're just, and again, yeah, go ahead.
Parker.
My first one is Brandon's Venom.
Yeah, don't attack that guy.
Never,
That guy
ever
will
attack
fuck your shit
Brandon's
up.
Venom.
That is
or
very solid
Aaron's
advice.
Sabretooth. Those are my two answers. and
Jeremy
those are
Sabretooth.
gag answers and also real answers.
Yeah, Jeremy
Yeah.
Sabretooth is mine. He will fucking murder you.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
So yeah, the Cat and Rhino we just talked about, but it's just, you can obviously always attack anyone, but context is super important. Knowing how much power they have, how much power they need, the odds of you killing them, you have to do this math before you choose them as a target. Anyone else, I would rather attack Sabretooth than Black Cat most turns.
Oh, I have an honorable mention here. Any healing factor model before they've activated.
Sabretooth is a really good
Good
choice
call.
for this list.
Yeah. Now, granted, again, all models should probably be attacked at some point during your game. Situation dependent. You just got to pick and choose when you need to attack them.
I saw
And-
a game
and all of
once
the
where
models
you
we've
attacked
discussed.
a model once.
Yeah.
You only attacked once.
I'm a degenerate fuck. Get over it.
I'm just wondering. Okay, good.
Parker, can you raise your mic?
Those are cute. All right.
I will just say about specifically Venom and
Yep.
Sabretooth, all the guys who attack you back, be careful of that specifically because in this game, you are double punished whenever you get KO'd on your own turn, because not only did you lose whatever you were going to do with the rest of your turn, which could be backbreaking, but you then also don't cost your opponent priority for taking out your model because you activated the model and were dazed instantly. So it's and it costs your opponent no activation. It is so punishing in priority to lose a model on your own turn. So anytime you attack a Venom or a Sabretooth or near somebody with got your back, just take huge amounts of care because, man, it is, I said double punishing, but it's almost triple punishing in this game to lose a model on its own activation.
Okay.
Yep. Parker,
Let's
can you
do
raise your mic?
let's do two more. How about that? Unless you want to go beyond that, I think two is fine.
You're like breathing into it. Yeah. There you go.
All right. So next question. The most fair secure is, and then the most fair extract is. So the most fair secure and extract. You got it, Parker?
Man, I'm really hard.
You're like, these are all unfair, and I hate this.
Yeah, I was trying to find out like which one's the one that has. I kind of went with like least advantage, but that was hard.
Okay.
So
You got it, Parker?
Can we?
I think I got it.
Oh my god.
All right, you go.
I'm gonna go with intrusions as the secure and alien ship as the
Okay.
extract.
Brandon. got?
Researcher, which I'm
Oh,
sure I'm
yeah.
the only one's going to say that. You can also say the actual answer is Legacy Virus, but I like Researcher
Okay.
because you can't fucking steal it. Infinity Formula is probably, I think, the best secure.
Okay.
Maybe Mayor Fisk.
Aaron, what'd you come up with?
I said meteors and hammers.
Oh my god, these are all completely
Hammers.
different.
Hammers
Why is
definitely not
everyone
true.
wrong or right? Explain yourselves.
Jeremy, what you got?
I don't have anything. I told you this.
Jeremy's
I'm
not
asking
playing.
the questions.
Oh,
He is merely the voice.
okay.
Honestly,
Okay,
if I had to choose, Madman, because mine are separate too. Madman and
How are pay to flips ever fair?
because they're on both sides of the table. There's an equal amount, and you can't fight in the fucking center of the table. That's your deal if you only take fucking power 3 guys or energy 3. And I do like the idea of researcher. You can't steal it. That's pretty fucking fair.
Yeah, so I think the actual fairest extract in the game is Legacy Virus. It is the least fuck with you secondary effect. It is a fair-ish point total. But mainly, it's just well-rounded. But Researcher stops the least fun mechanic in the game, which is getting stuff stolen from you. Parker, you need to move your mic. You're just breathing hard into the mic. That's all I can hear.
Yeah, it's gotten worse since I moved it.
Yeah, it's really bad. Okay.
What's going on?
I don't know why you keep moving it. There you go. That sounds fine.
I thought I only
now.
moved it since you asked me to.
You're always moving it. Constantly, I'll look over and you're like moving your mic around.
Oh, it's because I love to move mics. That's what it is.
It makes
You
no
love to
sense
move
me.
mics. All right, Aaron. Why
right.
is everybody else wrong and you are right?
So I'm not gonna die on this hill. Like I appreciate different opinions here, other than the fact that you guys with Researcher are fucking out to lunch. Researcher benefits one archetype so hard.
No. I
Oh
understand
my God.
that, which is why there's an asterisk. But when it comes down to it, I hate Steelers so much.
I get it. I understand.
It breaks the entire point of the game, and so because of that, I would rather play Researcher than anything else.
Yep.
Because even if my opponent's advantaged, I'd rather have that be a choice I made in list construction than just line up and have all my shit get stolen.
I understand that. You're wrong, but I understand your point of view.
No,
Obviously,
like I said, Legacy Virus in a vacuum is actually the most fair, in my opinion.
sure, Hammers and Scrolls are both two that are extremely fair and balanced, right? There's 4 on each of them.
They're both heavy RNG, and so one person's, despite in a vacuum they're fair, they're both going to result in one player just winning a dice roll, and it's going to swing the game.
How is Hammers a dice roll?
'Cause
That's
it
why I
turns the
picked
game
Hammers
into
over Scrolls.
I think you're right in that, but I
Sure.
think it turns the game into an attrition fest. You'll end up with, it's like there's Apex-esque characters. Like you're talking about Researcher's unfair because some models are really, or some list archetypes are really strong in Researcher. Well, they're also strong on Hammers. And at the same time, randomly throughout the game, one model will kill another model with a hammer, and it'll swing the rest of the game if they're an Apex model like Ghost Rider. It's like, hey, look, my Ghost Rider now has 2 hammers and gets to drive long as a superpower. And you're like, that's not fair.
I can concur with that. My
Parker, what
Secure
did
is Meteors.
Oh, go ahead.
Huh?
I do
Meteors.
like your Meteors choice. That's a solid choice.
I think so. Infinity was my first answer, but too often you get stranded because it's a B with an inability to have an effect on the game down the road. Meteors is a little closer together, but not down the middle like Gamma and Demons. So I really think Meteors is a very fair and balanced Secure that lets both attrition and scenario play have an interesting effect.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you have a strong opinion there. I just refuse to choose pay to flips because, again, it's heavy RNG. And so despite the mission is fair, in practice it will never be fair.
Parker, what did you say?
I said intrusions because I like that I feel like it's a really fair trade. Like if you want to go through the portal, you lose your extract, which I think it's like, yes, you could go to score the blue, but you lose the red. So it's a +1, -1. And I think that's kind of an interesting, fair thing they decided to do for it. It's also on the middle line, so everybody's kind of go to the middle and fight there. It's 19 points, which is a fair number. I just feel like it's a very fair one. And I actually don't like playing it because I feel like I'm never advantaged in it and no one's advantaged in it. It forces me to just kind of roll dice, and I don't like it for that reason. I think it's super fair. I'd rather take one that gives me an advantage of some kind. That's why I avoid it. And I did Alien Ship. Honestly, it was a toss-up between that and Legacy Virus. I feel like both of those are really just simple, straightforward. The only reason why I did Alien Ship over Legacy is that Legacy does have the possibility of you get wrecked at the very end of the game because, one character collects a lot and all of a sudden soars to victory. And Alien Ship is more about a slow matriculation of damage, maybe. So
Well, that's actually why I didn't pick it, because it randomly, I've seen, doing 6 damage to your opponent's list with Alien Ship, and so that's the only reason I didn't pick it. It is rare, but it is very splashy in that regard. Mm-hmm. Same reason I didn't pick Hammers.
So I think it's interesting how we approached fair.
Yeah.
So I understand your comments about intrusions, but I could not disagree more. But I'm looking at it from a perspective of attrition versus scenario play. Like if I'm playing CGR Inhumans or if I'm playing webs, like which one benefits neither, right? That's what I'm kind of thinking, which is why, intrusions is a huge boon to brawly attrition teams. Like scenario teams hate intrusions because it forces a fight. Whereas like Infinity and Meteors doesn't necessarily force that fight, nor give them a huge scenario leg up, like let's say Scoundrels. Anyway, go ahead, Brandon.
I actually, so I'm inclined to agree with you before you started talking. you talked me out of agreeing with you because how is Intrusions more fighty than Meteors?
Because Intrusions force you to sit on a spot, and it gives your opponent infinite board positioning. Like you could be on a spot on the board, and then
sure, no, I understand
be
that.
Anywhere else whenever you want.
So my issue is that Intrusions, while being non-teleporty, is so much closer together than
Meteors.
Intrusions is.
Yeah,
Meteors, sorry, yeah. Meteors is so much closer together than Intrusions. I don't know that it really matters, given most lists are going to get played. You have to stand within like range 4 of the other Meteors.
Sure, but there are other spots you can stand to affect the Meteors and push people off, and interact with your own team, whether it's taunting or bodyguarding. That the Intrusions just makes completely irrelevant. Because
how is that not the same though? Like you can stand just as far away from the Intrusions as you can from the Meteors.
Not and score them.
Well, but that's what you just said though. Like you were just talking about how it's an option to stand away from the Meteors. Like, well, I can do that on the Intrusions too.
But you lose.
Well, but you lose the Meteors then. Like if you're not standing on them.
Not necessarily. Maybe we should play some more Meteors games, but.
Maybe
you need one person on your back, and then you're fighting over the middle.
Sure. Obviously, the teleporting part is important, but depending on the extract, sometimes you just don't care.
Oh, I think the teleporting part is the most broken part of that because it allows your opponent to just gang up on whatever model they choose. What
if now I'm not saying they should change this, but what if they reverse the role and it was a 3 and 8 for you to choose, and it's a 5 and 8 for your opponent to choose?
That'd be interesting. I actually like that kind of.
That way, it's an option, but it's not something you'd want to do.
Right? It's not. Yeah, you don't just
plan for not doing
auto hop through every time you want.
Yeah, my favorite is we play Maximum Chaos, and the Hydra Grunts have to interact every time they are able. I just jump all over the table.
I just know every single Intrusions game I ever play comes down to an attrition win. Like it might be the scenario, someone might get to 16, but it's because the other person doesn't have enough models left. Almost invariably, it is the highest attrition scenario that I can ever think of.
I'd probably buy that. I think Mayor Fisk is pretty fighty as well, but it's also fairish fighty. I don't think I'm ever upset when I pull Intrusions. The only reason I'm upset usually is that it's a centerline scenario, so people that play stuff like Maximum Punishment, like Guardians and Inhumans, have just a shooting gallery for you. That's the only time I don't like it.
And I honestly, my attrition lists tend to be synergistic lists where I'm, combining buffs or, putting in bodyguards and buffing dice with other models. And I really don't like intrusions because, as it turns out, bunching up around one intrusion is difficult because you can't affect the other intrusions. C is just a little too far away. Whereas I's and E's are so much better for me to fight on because I can be sitting on 2 at the same time and be spreading all my buffs to everybody that's important. Whereas with intrusions, I can't buff my other models. There's not a big enough span in the game really for it. So It's one of the reasons why I really don't like intrusions for attrition. I do agree with you, Aaron. That one point you made that I do agree with is intrusions games usually end up being attrition games, but I feel like it's almost solo. Like you're benefited if you have a bunch of soloists. Because then you can just, if you're not dependent on any other model in your list, then you'll like intrusions because like you said, you can expand your threat range, across the whole middle of the map. That's awesome. But if you're doing anything synergistic, you will feel totally hamstrung by intrusions. And that's one of the reasons why I don't look at it like I don't reach for it off the shelf. But that's because I'm almost always picking something that's buffing things.
Yeah. And again, you're approaching it from an attrition standpoint, not necessarily an aggro standpoint, where your goal is to table your opponent. Yeah, you're just trying to get a fighting advantage.
Okay. One last one.
Oh, I thought we were done. You said last one last time.
No, I said two more.
He said two more.
So this will be
Well, then
last
he
one.
asked which, and then he asked two questions.
I didn't.
It was a twofer.
You did. It was a two-part question.
It was a two-part.
Okay,
Okay,
next.
so here we go. The most important threat for your list to build for is...
This was easy. 20, obviously.
21.
I only play team-ups at this point.
Yeah.
I'm going to write it big since this is the last one.
Okay, what do you got?
15. Not close.
17. 15, 17. Parker, what did you get?
I had 19.
Okay, so please
Fucking
explain how you all have decided.
Well, I am clearly correct, and I'll explain
Okay.
why. 15 is the most important to build for because it is the only point total that you could actually break your list at, in my opinion. Because if you build a 17-point list that doesn't contain a 2-pointer, your list can suddenly not work, like at all. Your core models just don't work anymore because you cannot fit it at 15 points. So if you build for 15, it is extraordinarily easy to make any other point total in the game.
Okay, solid.
Counterpoint.
Aaron?
There are a lot of people who don't like twos, so you can't just automatically build your core 15 and add a 2.
No, but if you have a core 15, you can just add a 2. That's the point.
Sure. So my point is, I said 17, by the way, for the viewers who couldn't see what we were holding up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Audio medium.
yes. Most games are played at 17. Statistical fact. 17 is generally the core, I believe, at which you should have a really good game plan. And that's why I think you should build your list. I forget exactly what your question was, Jeremy, but in my mind, I'm building my list to have, when my opponent says 17, I'm like, great. I have like A, B, or C, but I know what my 17 options are by and large. And
That's your
I
fastball.
am very comfortable with those options.
Yeah.
Having
Your best
said that,
pitch should be at 17.
I fully agree you need to have a 15 plan. But I don't necessarily think that I should build for 15 and then see what 17 looks like. I will build for 17 and then be like, okay, what's my 15 plan on Researcher? If I'm playing a scenario team, like, okay, what happens when I get 15 Researcher? I'm like, and if I don't have an answer, then I need to put it in. But I never start with that. I start with the 17.
Okay. Parker, 19. Explain yourself, sir.
So I went with I'm not dying on any hill here. I think 15 is very reasonable. I think 17 is less reasonable because I feel like almost every list in the game just kind of ends up being like when you build a 10-man roster, if you can't get a 17 in there that you like, I feel you made a really odd list. But 15 is you have to be intentional. I think 19 you also have to be intentional. And I just happen to play a bunch of 19s. I just feel like if I took all the games I played for a year and I looked at all the point values, I feel like 19 would be way the median, just so much higher than all the others. And maybe it's because of the list I'm picking, maybe it's because of what my opponent is doing. But I just feel like I play so many more 19s than anything else. I think, but the reason why I was really close to 15 is it's harder to build. You have to be intentional about it, and it's also the scariest point value for boogeymen. Because if your opponent has a really strong 15 with their big-ass boogeyman, Immortal Hulk, CGR, whatever it is, and you don't have a really important 15-point drop for that matchup, you will just feel so rolled. And the more points you add, the more redundancy you can add in your list, the more flexibility you get to deal with that boogeyman. And so 15 points is also really important. I went with 19 more as a gut reaction to all the things I tend to play. But I think 15 is probably ostensibly the best answer.
And so in short, Parker agrees with me. This is great.
Yeah.
I was actually coming in to your defense. I disagree with your 19-point assessment, but I respect where I thought you were going with it.
Ooh, okay.
Because in our meta, I think the most popular missions are 19 points.
Yeah.
I think you're more likely to play 19 in Kansas City than anywhere else in the world. And so I think it is important to have a plan. Now, is it the most important point total to plan for? I don't think so. Yeah. Mostly because if you were to just scoop up a bucket of models, put them on the table, I think 19 points is actually the easiest point total to make a list for. Because 20, you actually run into this problem where it's actually more often than not, you round up to 6 models, which means you need 4 affiliateds. And so at 19, that happens less. So it's actually very easy to build a 5-model 19-point list. It's extremely easy in most factions. But yeah. 17 is, I agree with Aaron, you should have your best pitch should be at 17 points. Or you should at least make an effort for that to be true.
I definitely got stuck in the middle on that question when I was thinking about it originally. I was like, obviously 17, but then 15's will get your fucking ass kicked if you don't think about a 15.
Yeah,
and
if
I'm
you're like,
but
I've never thought about 15 before, it's like,
17's
this
the
game's
most
over.
common. And that's why I asked the question. I'm like, I wonder what y'all think about
No,
that.
that was my favorite question of the whole thing.
But yeah, there you go.
That's
all
question.
the questions.
I like these. I wish we'd do these more often. I'm really bad about making these types of questions, though. It's like, I just don't think of them. But when I hear them, like, oh, that's a good one.
I like the discussions we have at the shop and the discussions that happen on the boards. And for those that don't know, the Patreon room typically has some good discussions in there, too. So anyone thinking that there's, I might want to check it out. There's stuff that goes on in there. Heads up.
It's mostly no pants picks, but it is sometimes discussion.
Aaron,
but that's where I get all these questions because people basically talk about this all the time.
I post a picture of Parker's delicate hands for every probationary episode he has.
Oh Lord,
he keeps them in these glass capsules.
Jesus.
But why male models?
I love that was an improv line.
Thank you. It was.
No, in the movie it was.
Yeah. Well, it was the first
a lot
part
of people
was in the
don't know.
script, but he actually.
And then he forgot his line, so he just said, "Yeah, but why male model?" Because he forgot his line, so he just repeated it. And he's like, "I just fucking explained it realistically."
Yeah.
David Company just goes with it. Oh, it's so beautiful. Anyway, this is a great segment. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed. This has been Brandon
and Parker
and Jeremy
and Aaron,
and you've just listened to the Chungus.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
We did it. We're back.
So good.
I'm going to step away for a moment. I'll be back in probably like 2 minutes.
It's got a fart with such acoustic vigor that it would ruin the cast. So it's got to get far, far away.
So how many games
Speaking
have you
of
played in your new game, Aaron?
I played 3 5v5 games of Judgment and maybe 4 or 5 3v3 games.
Yeah.
So if you discount the 3v3s as just pure learning games, and I played about three games total.
Yeah. Still finding it interesting then?
Oh yeah. No, there's definitely enough strategic depth to last a year or more.
Yeah.
And they have I talked to one of the guys who's in the know. He's a playtester and whatnot. They have releases scheduled for like the next 2 years. I mean, so they're playtesting a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So their plan anyway is to obviously continue to grow the game, and the more releases that come out on a non, frenetic schedule, like one a month, one every 2 months, we'll keep the game vibrant for quote unquote years to come. I definitely think what's in the game now is enough to keep it alive for plenty. Like there's 33 heroes and many different combinations you can make, and when you combine that with different terrain that heavily impacts what you want to bring to the fight, and what you bring versus what they bring, and the whole pick ban system that's in place, I still think there's a lot of space to explore. So yeah. I'm pretty happy.
How is I keep meaning to ask, how is terrain laid out in that game? So is there just maps that tell you where to put shit, or is it like you guys just do it, or what?
Both. So we have been just copying maps because they have a tournament season that changes every 6 months, and they will produce a map pack to go with that season.
Okay.
All of those maps follow general guidelines, like in MCP, right? You place,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you're range 2 away from stuff, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So until we get good at just knowing how to place a map, we've just been copying the maps that currently exist, of which there are probably 10.
Okay.
I hope to have most of the terrain done for that game by about the middle of next week, and then I'll be super happy.
You ordered all the terrain?
I'm hand making all the terrain. I ordered a couple things to put on the tiles,
Mm-hmm.
but like I'm making, so I got my armatures for trees, but I'm modeling the mud to go around the tree and then painting the mud and
I gotcha.
a bunch of stuff like that. So
Cool. I'm watching the new Squid Game, The Challenge. It's a Squid Game
What is
game.
that?
It's the reality
it's like
show
Survivor.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, it's
It's like a reality show about Squid Game.
it's Squid Game, except instead of they die, they just get eliminated and they get shot in the chest by like a ink packet. But
Mhm.
they're all just getting eliminated in the same way as the Squid Game, and it's like they spent like $1 bajillion on the set. Like it's straight out the movies. Like it's this huge dorm with all these weird looking beds, and they keep walking into rooms, and the rooms are exactly like the movies or the show was. It's pretty cool. And I guess the winner gets like $4.5 million. It's fucking
Not like 1,300,
no,
like in the show.
17 quid. What? I don't. Is that a comma? Is that a comma or a period?
I got my first successful 3D prints.
Oh yeah, I saw your little.
Yeah.
You have made a companion cube.
I did make a companion cube. So yeah, hopefully Aaron's models I'm making will come out good. They will finish printing at
Christmas.
4:45 a.m.
They will raise up out of the goo.
Wait, how did Aaron
forward to
send you? Wait, how did Aaron send you models through the internet?
Yes.
But how could he do that from where he is?
He actually just gave me a link to a website and I downloaded it.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's almost like like the funny thing is like in the time that he was like, hey, you should download this file, it was like less than 30 seconds. I was on my computer and opening a program. I'm just like, okay.
I was going to say, it would be easier for him to handwrite the STL file and bring it to you himself than it would be for his internet to give it to you somehow.
Step 1, get a Raven. Step 2.
He can learn how to do multi-view modeling and drafting, draw it out, and then bring it to you.
You have to make it learn.
Parker, you're the one that can't get me STL files. I've been waiting on you for like 4 days now.
Let's be fair. As it turns out, what's the name of the website? Should we even say the name of the cast? HeroForge, which is an awesome, fun model building website. When you ask for an STL file, they say might take forever in the fine print, which I didn't read until I hit the button. Oh, you'd be so proud of me. I just did an update on my computer today.
Oh.
And as I turned it back on right before the cast, it asked me right before, would you like to back up your computer? And I said, and I immediately went to okay, and I went, fool me once. I'm about to podcast. I should not try to shove my entire hard drive in a cloud. Skip for now, computer. Mama didn't raise no dummy.
It's the equivalent of like taking a literal iron pickaxe to your fucking computer tower right before we start recording. You're like, what could go wrong?
See, I knew from an experience that you don't try to shove enormous amounts of data into a cloud while having a conversation on the internet. An important one. You shouldn't do that.
Okay. Brandon, you don't look tilted enough. So I have a question to ask you.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Why do you think Battlestar Galactica is a good series?
Because it's the best series.
Oh, shit. Listen, he won't respond. I've already gone through this with him.
No, I'm serious here. So I just finished season 2.
I let people like it. Sometimes people like to eat spinach. Sometimes people like to eat celery. It's their fault.
Sure.
They're just, no nutrients.
Yeah.
They don't
but
understand
those same people usually understand that they're weird and like shit. They're like, yeah, I understand. It's not for everyone, but I like spinach. Brandon's like, no, BSG is the best series ever, period, dot. And if you don't agree with me, you're a failure of a human being.
Okay.
Have I correctly
don't
interpreted
need
your
to take-
stance?
yes.
Okay.
I just want to confirm that the person that thinks Persons of Interest was the greatest show ever, is giving me feedback on what good cinema is.
Shots
I'm just
fired.
confirming that's
Greatest
what's going on.
show ever never came out of my mouth, but a very
said
good
it was
TV
your-
show worth watching? Yes.
You told me point blank it was your favorite TV show of all time.
That might have been correct.
That is correct. I remember it very vividly. I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to give this a shot.
Mhm. And I could explain why I thought that. So I'm asking you, why is BSG so highly rated in your mind?
I like a lot of the characters. I like the post-apocalyptic aspect of the show, where like things aren't just like in a lot of TV shows. There's like this line that happened in like sitcoms, basically, where cell phones were prevalent, and it just destroyed 90% of the plot of most sitcoms. You're like, go back and watch Friends. In the first 5 seasons, when they don't have cell phones, every single plot of those episodes did not matter because if they had just had cell phones, it's like Joey doesn't know that his audition time has been changed, and so they have to like run around the city looking for Joey, like all this weird stuff that like oh wow, if we could just get a hold of this person, or like, hey, my car broke down, we now have to walk 20 miles. It's like, well, no, you don't if you had a cell phone. So it's removing society makes a lot more interesting things possible in writing. And so I like that aspect. Like Walking Dead is interesting solely for the reason that like society is gone, so you have to like figure out these problems on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that aspect of TV shows. But really, I just like it for the sci-fi elements. Like it's just enough sci-fi while still being grounded in what we would consider like a normal like world. It's not like they don't have hand wavy Star Wars or Star Trek bullshit where it's like technology fixes everything, moving on. You're like, well, it kind of doesn't though. Like, what did you guys do? We said computer words, and so the problem went away. And you're like, oh, okay.
At this point in my BSG watching, I would say Deep Space Nine was a much better TV show than Galactica.
I think a lot of people probably feel that way. I'm not much of a Star Trek person. I keep trying to say it wrong. I've watched all of Next Gen, and what was the other one? I watched another one of them. I watched like a very small amount of Enterprise. I watched a lot of Voyager because it was on TV when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know, something about it. It doesn't.
I mean, Deep Space Nine is the only one that I think is actual good TV show outside of the Star Trek universe.
I've heard that a lot, but like I've watched a couple episodes. I just haven't. It hasn't got me, and I don't really like the characters that much. And
Sure.
I understand I haven't watched the whole show, so it's not really a fair opinion. But it's just never grabbed me, and I never really cared for the world.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of
Galactica
people
lost.
that like Galactica, and I don't understand it either, but I just accept that they're just different kinds of people in the world, and some people like... I was gonna make some weird references, but yeah, some people like just different things, and that's just one of those that I don't dig either. So
Sci-fi is definitely one of those where people are going to like one thing over another, and it's just like because of the way they look at sci-fi, I think. Like you want like super weird, fancy sci-fi, or like you want crunchy sci-fi where they explain all the science behind everything.
I
I don't mind any of that.
But
there is some...
I enjoy reading sci-fi a hell of a lot more than I like watching sci-fi.
And I think, and I was, sort of to that point, and perhaps this eliminates that there are ostensibly some things you can point to in shows that help you like them regardless of their genre, right? Like there are some television shows that have been made that it wouldn't matter if they were about cowboys or aliens or both. Maybe there's a movie idea there, guys. Maybe we should explore. But the point is, there are good stories that are just good stories. It didn't really matter what the topic was. What about Battlestar? Because I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. What about Battlestar is reflective of that? Is there something about the pacing, the characterizations, the growth, the arcs, the plot, the payoffs? Is there something about that that's important? The reason why I bring this up is I have seen a lot of OG Star Trek and Next Generation, and one of the things they do a lot is they ask questions metaphorically of modern society using this future society. So the characters themselves are usually just vehicles for exploring ideas. And there's not a lot of continuity and growth of the characters, except perhaps Data. He's the one who's probably given the most amount of growth. But the other characters really don't change very much throughout the show. There are a couple episodes that feature those characters, and we learn a little bit more about them, and they get small arcs. But some of the best episodes of OG Star Trek and Next Gen, the only ones I've seen, are asking really interesting either science questions or societal questions or both. And I just didn't know, so that's something Star Trek is known for example, as one of their strengths. Is there something that Battlestar does like that, beyond just like the genre things that you like?
I think it has very strong character development over the timeline of the show.
Okay.
Like it starts off with the miniseries being very binary, or black and white almost, where it's like the good guys are obvious, the bad guys are obvious. Now, not everyone knows who everybody is yet, because, a lot of people have secrets in the show. And then, characters have strong, motivations based on previous events. But then as the show starts going, it's just the further you get from the first episode, the more in the weeds you seem to get, and the more gray areas start showing up. And I don't know, the character development is really immense for specific characters, but mostly I think the thing that really grabs me is the relationship between the characters.
Okay.
Like, there's probably 20 or so people that are fairly main in the show beyond like the really core people, and the relationships between them over the 5-year span is really grabbing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I
do like a really well done. Okay.
Go ahead. No, you go.
Oh, as I say, I do appreciate a really good long character arc. I think that's really difficult to do in shows, because a lot of television, because of the way television is produced, by season, you kind of have to be cagey about how much you're willing to evolve your characters very slowly, because if you don't get the 6 seasons you need to see the full arc, you'll never be able to tell that whole story. And so oftentimes television writers just say, well, then we won't do that. That's Star Trek is a good example. We just won't give any of our characters long arcs, because we could be canceled at any moment. At any moment, they could just decide we can't finish the story. That's what happened to Firefly, for example. It's a good example of a story that just never got finished. They tried to do it kind of in a movie, but they wanted, obviously, to make really long arcs and make you care about each character. But they couldn't they just literally, it was, the rug was taken out from underneath them. And so lots of television writers, refused to take that chance. And it's sad, because there's a lot of awesome storytelling to be done there. Aaron, you haven't seen that yet, though. You're waiting for the good character development.
I think so.
Yeah, the character development is definitely later. It starts building towards it as people kind of drag their heels. But we'll say that the bigger plot, or the bigger developments, are going to come in season 3 for the most part. So season 3 is going to be a bit of a culture shock, especially at the start of the season. My favorite episode of the whole show, I want to say, is episode 4 of season 3. It's Exodus. I assume you looked, or you just remember what I said last time.
I remember what you said last time.
So if you get through Exodus and you still don't like the show, you should just stop watching, because if that didn't get you, then you're never going to care about the show. Are you watching it while painting, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious if that's playing a part into it.
No.
Like you're only...
I mean, I've done that with a lot of different shows. Like, I don't think so. For me, it's like the gaping plot holes that I just can't get past. Like,
there's definitely a lot of flashback stuff that you
sure,
find out
flashback
later.
is fine. I appreciate flashbacks and not knowing everything. But like, season 2 has a mid-season finale, and then it picks back up, and the mid-season finale was, without spoiling too much, good guys A were going to attack good guys B. And it goes, to be continued, ... Then next...
there's a movie in there.
I don't understand what that means, but...
There's a movie that takes place in the middle of the season. It's called Razor.
Yeah, that might have been interesting, because...
Yeah.
Like, it just packed...
You don't need to watch it in order, but it's like one of those, like, this is what was happening that you missed. And I don't know if it's better to watch it now or not. Anyway.
Like, obviously that big fight never happened, but it never explains why.
I'm pretty sure that's Razor. I'm just going to Google it.
Sure. That was so weird. And then, like, obviously at the end of season 2, I assume you know what happens. Like, Person X comes to power, but, like, the people always knew Person X was like super bad and like did nothing. Like whatever. It's just I don't get it. There's so many plot holes that are just too big for me to really buy into why people are making the decisions that they're making. So we'll see. Again, I've been married for 22 years, so we're pot committed. Like when I commit to something, we're going to see it through. I'll finish the whole thing.
Okay, so Razor takes place throughout like the middle to second half of season 2 is the movie Razor. Okay.
That's another feature. That's another feature of television production, is that you usually don't see shows take big swings on things like large character arcs, because they usually don't know how often they'll be renewed. But by around the third year of a show, you can get an idea of the longevity of the show. Production companies can start making promises, and you can start making predictions about it more accurately. Anyway, it's not 100% chance, of course, but that's often the time when you see a lot of shows pick up. It's one of the reasons why I love, like some of the Netflix stuff that I think is really strong right now. Is I think they have so much faith in their shows and their content that they just go real hard, real fast. Like they come out of the gate, episode 1, swinging for the fences, and I think that is a really interesting thing that's happened because of specifically streaming powered shows. And I do not know if that's just a Netflix production ethos, or if it's a product of the streaming platform, or what it is. But I think Amazon Prime does the same thing. The Boys is a good example, right? Like swinging out of the gate, just they were sure they were making episodes of that. They didn't spend a lot of time beating around any bushes or building a fan base. They just came out swinging and see if it catches fire. It does, great. Keep swinging.
I think I always assumed that it was due to like an inverse of like contract situation where a lot of the time on a network, you're going to the network and trying to sell them something. And I think I always assumed that with the streaming services, they almost like commission people to make stuff.
Ooh, I do not know. That might be the case. I assume they're also being pitched things, but you're right. It could be a difference in production philosophy.
Well, but also because like generally speaking, there's no advertisements purchased. Like you're not paying for airtime with ads, so you don't have to worry about the advertisers being not happy with the ratings. It's like it's all on the network or the streaming service. So if you make a contract with Netflix, they're the ones that decide if your show is good enough or not. Yeah. And so you like send them a whole like season all at once, and they put it out when they want. But then on the backside, like there is no like, oh well, your sponsor pulled out, so you lost funding. It's like no, like we have our own deal. It's like there's no third party involved.
That's a really good point. The monetization scheme is totally different. It's good.
Did you get to the? I assume you've gotten this far in the Always Sunny podcast, but they talk about how they did one of their really offensive episodes, and like half their sponsors left, and they're like, ooh, yeah, you guys are going to lose all your money. Like, is that bad? We haven't made a show before. Is that really bad? Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's not good. Yeah. You lost like half your money.
Yeah, I think I haven't got. I'm moving backwards in it, and I think I'm down to like 5 or 6 left. But yes, I've heard that part.
I've been letting them build up. I'm kind of like waiting to hit it all at once and do like 20 in a row.
Well, they have not recorded a new one for some time. I'm not sure what the reason is. They're just taking a break.
So it's been like a full year since I stopped listening.
I think it's been months since they've made one.
Okay. All right. So our movie category today is movies we saw as a child or just a long time ago?
When you were young.
He said child.
When I was young.
Child.
Yeah. Before you had the sensibilities you have now with which to make an informed decision.
It's like 18 plus, like acceptable?
No.
Yeah, I went low.
It has to be younger. Okay. Well, I didn't watch a lot of good movies back then.
This was both easy and hard for me because it was easy. It was easy because I immediately thought of 2. Instantly thought of 2 because I on purpose have gone back and watched them to be like that. I remember that being so good as a kid, so like memorable. It must. I wonder if it's still. I wonder if it was a really good story, and it was. And I was just blown away a second time, and I was like, yes. And the third one was so hard to find because I've already mentioned so many of them. If that makes sense. Like I don't know if you guys have heard it. I've heard it over and over again. Is a lot of my movie picks are because like my family was watching. Because my dad and my brother are such big cinema guys, and so I've seen so many movies. It was kind of hard to find a third one that I hadn't mentioned already. But I got it. I'm ready to go.
I really want next week's category, whoever wins, to be movies you loved as a kid, which you rewatched and realized are awful.
That was the category originally, and I changed it.
Oh, so you know what would be on my list immediately? And the spoiler for next week, Spawn.
Ooh!
With Michael J. White.
Mm-hmm.
That movie was amazing at 14 and not so good at 24.
Yeah, it was absolute hot garbage.
Because it won't. My influence to the movies that don't work out and are very cringy is watch Big and just watch it. You can't watch that.
Mm-mm.
This woman
just
rapes
trash.
a young baby child. Like,
Well, I mean, he had a growth spurt. It's fine.
no, it's completely insane.
So you're
I
telling
mean,
me
she didn't know.
I have to take it off my list for.
You're
movies
telling me
are
that
still
she
awesome?
knew
it can still be awesome.
that he
if you
had
want.
gone to a little fortune teller machine, put in his lunch money, and been just become an adult. And she's like, "Well, time to get me some little boy." Like that's not what happened.
Or any of the Revenge of the Nerds movies. They're
There's
so
so
bad.
much. There's so much sexual
like
harassment.
women are stupid, men are
Oh my
awesome, and who
God.
gives a shit? Show us your titties and then throw her in a lake. You're like, what is happening here? You can't
There's
do
so
that.
much misogyny in the movie.
Ugh.
It's really intense. Mine,
It
the one
really
that
is.
the one that I can't watch like that is, but I love some of the jokes, but like Airplane, like that movie is so much racism in it, an intense amount of racism.
Oh yeah.
An abnormal amount that makes you uncomfortable. It's,
I mean-
man, I thought that movie was the funniest movie I'd ever seen when I was a kid.
I think there's
when I
actually
didn't- when I didn't understand the social
like
compunction.
scientists do with layers of the Earth, right? And you can tell dates and whatever. The word retarded is somewhere on the line of movies. Like, it was okay to say up to like 1989 or 95, wherever it is. There is
I
a
think it was in
hard
the
line.
90s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay to say, it was just accepted that
That's what I'm
was a
saying.
word that you could easily use.
Oh, comedies would use it all
and
the time.
Then it was like a gray area for another 15 years after that.
And then all of a sudden,
I'm pretty sure it
there's
wasn't too great. I'm pretty sure it was pretty.
Yeah.
The line was
like
drawn,
there's no
I'm pretty
carbon
sure.
footprint of that word after a certain time.
That's true.
Well, I mean, obviously, I have a very skewed existence because I've spent 90% of my adult life in a game store around.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
Even
And children.
adults.
But yeah.
On top of that, I'm pretty sure like 2014 is when that started.
2014
to go away. No, I'm not kidding. Like
Yeah.
you go back, like I'm pretty sure it's still in a lot of movies, a lot of stand-up comedy, like all over the place. And it's like they're using it for comedy, not for like technical terminology either.
Mm-hmm.
Man, there's so many movies from my childhood that I couldn't possibly watch now that I thought were so great. But I don't want to say them now. I want to say them now, but we'll have to wait for another one. The only problem about that topic, and the reason why I'm glad you changed it, Jeremy, is I've always felt the reason I've liked our movie thing is it's always, if you haven't seen these movies, there's something there to appreciate, right?
Uh-huh.
They're not the best movies ever, but there's something there to appreciate. So specifically making a list of things you shouldn't appreciate because they are bad and there's nothing to appreciate with an adult sensibility, that is just, it's the opposite of what we've tried to do so far. And so I liked the theme you came up with more, the one for this week.
The thing is we'll come up with this theme, and then Muse will take care of the backside of it and tell us all the things that we're incorrect about and why it's stupid. So I'll let
incorrectly
them
tell us what we're incorrect about.
Oh,
so it's
that's
fine.
another thing. I predict that there'll be less shit talk this time because
more nostalgia.
Yeah, because we're just kind of going off of a pretty wide, broad just time, really. Like I really can only pick between 1985 and 1995, but it's really just that. And it had to be something I could see when I was that small, right? Like Boogie Nights came out somewhere in there, but I didn't see Boogie Nights till I was much older because it's about guys hanging dong, so I didn't see that as a child.
What about Kroll? Does Kroll count?
It does. Absolutely. Does it hold up? Have you seen it recently? I haven't either.
No, I'm definitely not watching that again.
That's weird you said that. I actually saw something on my Facebook feed that was talking about the makeup of that bad guy and the alien thing. It was just a
Mhm.
weird thing today. I was just scrolling around. I was like, oh yeah, that movie.
It's one of like the more famous like B movie ripoffs.
Man, I have so many. I'm trying so hard not to say all the movies that I can't watch as an adult that I did watch as a kid because they're just
Isn't it
they're flowing
incredible?
they're flowing back to me so quickly.
They're flowing back.
And they're so bad.
They
Oh,
are
they're
real
so
bad.
they're
There's a
so
lot.
hard. And some of them and that's actually a topic that I think we would get flamed for hard because I think a lot of people they think the movies are so dear because their memory is what's more important than the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I said the truth, which is the Neverending Story is a horrible movie, everybody would get so mad at me because everybody has this incredibly dear memory of it, and so did I. And then I watched it, and I was like, "This is horrible. Like I can barely get through this. It is a terrible, terrible movie."
Ooh, I've never
but-
seen it, so we can just sit down and watch it.
You won't enjoy it.
I bet I won't.
No.
That's why Stranger Things is amazing, because you just get the nostalgia points of the 80s, but none of like the actual bullshit.
Now, I will say that Neverending Story has like moments in it that are really fun, but I challenge you to watch it as an adult, set in the context of the whole movie, rather than just remembering. Like even Jeremy and I, we've talked about the scene where he's talking to the warg, the wolf, and how like scary as a shit we were. Like I was scared out of my mind at that scene. It was so
It's
tense.
pretty disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as an adult, set in the context of the movie, I was just like, God damn it, will you just fucking end? I know what's going to happen when you get to the fucking end. The pacing of
It's
that
never
movie is
ending.
so terrible.
It's
Yes.
never ending. I was waiting for him to stop talking.
Yeah.
Got it. I got there quick.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Do you want to just do the movies now, and or do you want to wait till the end?
Oh, we can wait.
I mean, there's no difference. It gets edited to the same place.
I think because we're talking
I'm
about
ready, but-
Battlestar, I have to update how stupid my work is real quick. This is a robot update, just so everyone is. I want to make sure that all of the fans are taken care of here, right?
Before you start, could I ask something? What
Do it.
is the robot's name? I know we call it just the robot, but I feel it
Rocky.
deserves one.
It's Hal.
Oh, it has a name, motherfucker. Its name is Rocky, but I refuse to give it
Oh,
power over me.
Rocky. That's
Wait,
you're
no.
right.
Did it actually come with like a name plate?
No, we had
where
a
it's like,
ceremony
"I am
where we
Rocky"?
named it, like it was born.
Oh, okay.
Ugh.
Is it because it just wanders around without its arms up and gets hit in the face repeatedly?
I think it's because it starts with an R, like robot. That's
Mhm.
about as much as we thought about it.
Rocky the robot.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have a great idea for a movie topic.
Okay. So let me finish mine.
Go ahead.
Go.
So my boss comes up, and I said, "Hey, we've got a plan to make sure that in the morning we unplug it. It goes back and forth in the dining room a couple times to make sure that we use it. Nothing really goes on it. We don't really do anything, but we have a plan to do that." And she goes, "Awesome." And then I was like, "Cool." And we put the robot up. That's a real fucking thing. Like, that's how much we waste on this fucking thing. That my boss and I both have to agree that it's total bullshit, but I have to do it. That is unbelievable to me still. Like, I cannot believe this is actually happening. Anyway.
That event you're talking about, where everyone understands it's wasted, and yet we must waste it, is a thing that gets repeated over and over and over again in so many professions and so many occupations. It's really strange how often that occurs. It is one of those things you're just like, why are we always so sure we need to participate in this? This inanity. It's
like
pretty
my
intense.
profession, honestly, like most of the things that I do is make something that's 5 steps take 2. Like, I'm trying to always eliminate things that are in the way for kitchen work and servers and whatever. Anything in the way, move the trash can over here so it's closer, so we're saving time. Do this, make sure we have these things, X, Y, and Z. And then we have this robot thing that is doing absolutely nothing, and we spend at least 4 people spending at least 15 minutes of their day fucking with this. And we spend money on it. It's just dumbfounding. But they pay me the same, so okay, I guess. That's the update. I haven't kicked it down the stairs yet. John McClaned it off the top fucking floor, and it's like screaming while it's falling 3 floors down.
I was gonna say what you need is to pump it into a vat of molten metal and get the Terminator 2 theme.
The thumb up.
And then it slowly raises its weird little thumb and as it goes under.
Just a little hook.
Oh.
Slowly let it slower down on a chain.
Maybe this whole thing is building to that, and it would be worth it.
That's what it is. And then another one will come from the future and raise your twin boys.
Oh my god! That's awesome. Raise my twin
All right,
boys.
I want to tell you the movie category I came up with.
Just now?
Movies. Yeah. Movies you watched as a child that you should not have been allowed to watch.
Oh my god!
One of those is on my list today.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My
parents 1 year for Christmas got me the movie Runaway with Tom Selleck because they were just buying things off the rack at the video store and it was on sale. And they're like, Brandon likes movies, we'll get him a movie. And so I get home, we watch it, and it's just full frontal nudity, like through like a quarter of the movie. Like okay.
I've mentioned mine before, Candyman. I should not. That was on. Just
yeah,
not okay.
dude. I watched that.
That was not okay.
Too. Yeah.
I actually, going along with like different sensibilities with words, I feel like the rating system when I was a child was so warped and compared to what it is now, and my parents really had no idea what was going to be in the film, and also when they found out, just didn't do anything about it. And that was really like I feel like I've turned off a television show in front of my kids before because it was, one made when I was a kid, and I was like, this is monstrously very violent. And I was like, I remember watching this as a teenager. It came out when I was a teenager, but this is way too violent for little kids. So I'm going to ask you to stop watching it. I just turned it off in the middle of the episode. But I can't remember a moment that my parents ever did that for me if I was watching something that was really violent or potentially scary or crass or crude. I think my mom probably would have stopped me from watching something rated R, but something rated like PG-13 back then kind of got heavy sometimes. I don't know. But when we get to my list, one of mine, I definitely should not have seen, and I think I watched it when I was maybe 7. We'll see.
I have to look up. Oh, okay. I was like, was RoboCop PG-13? It's like, no, it is rated R. It's like,
well, there's a gap there where there wasn't PG-13. It was just PG and R. So some things fall in one or the other. And I can't remember for the life of me. There's one that was PG.
Jaws.
What is Jaws rated?
PG.
Is it? No, it's not.
Yeah, no, like there was a huge kerfuffle because after the movie was made, they tried to get it rated PG, and the thing that almost tipped it into R was the early scene when the girl's swimming in the lake because she's not wearing a bikini, but it's like a black and white silhouette, so you can't really see anything. But like they didn't want to give it a PG rating because of that.
I'm looking at the poster right now. PG.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. When we were little, like there were things that were pretty brutal.
It's like several people get eaten alive slowly, and they're just like, nah, it's fine. Like literally buckets of blood being thrown on the ship.
Yeah, we were watching something a couple years ago, and my boys were like, it's fine, it's PG. I'm like, wait a minute. And yeah, it was.
Get me. I've seen Ninja Scroll.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, so you don't want to do rings? You want to wait?
Oh, I'm ready, but I don't know about these guys. Aaron, are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Are you chipped? Are you loaded with your sodium potatoes?
I don't know what that means.
I watched you eat chips for the past 10 minutes, so I was just curious if you're satiated.
All right, so if we're doing it, let me give the category. You ready?
Yep.
Go. Movies you saw when you were a child that still hold up this day.
This day, not yesterday.
Yesterday, depending on how woke you might be.
How woken?
It depends on
what
your
if
wokeness.
What if I wake up late?
Yeah, then it might not work.
Alrighty. This week, through our intensive formula, Parker gets to go first.
Nice. I'm going to go with one that I didn't realize how awesome it was because I understood almost none of it when I was a kid. But my dad let me watch it, and I understood it was a strong movie, but I didn't understand any of it. But as an adult, I was like, this is amazing. It's Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump. I got none of it, but I understood it was good. I liked it. But because, it was a big cultural phenomenon, right?
Mm-hmm. Everyone watched it.
Yeah, everybody knew Life is Like a Box of Chocolates. Everybody knew what that was. But I didn't get any of it until I was an adult. Man, this is good.
Does this just have to be movies you saw when you were a kid, or movies you liked when you were a kid?
Isn't that the same thing?
No. Like, if you saw a movie and didn't like it, but then as an adult, it's a good movie.
Oh, that's fine. Sure.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Well, I picked movies that I did like as a kid, but
yeah,
also
I did too.
Liked as an adult.
That's fine. I was just checking. Alrighty, Aaron, you're up next.
Okay. Yeah, this is tough because when he's talking about Forrest Gump, I'm like, that wasn't out when I was a kid. I'm like, fuck me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to be stepping on toes very much today.
Citizen Kane.
Casablanca.
Sound of Music.
The lowest hanging fruit is The Princess Bride, and I'm taking that one.
Son of a bitch.
You were not a child when that came out.
Yeah, I was. Because I was.
I call bullshit on that one.
I was 11.
All right. Fine. He's just choosing movies I've previously named to try and get good votes. I know what he's doing. All right, I am next. Boy, this is tough. What are you guys likely to actually say?
I don't think you should worry about that. I think you should just go.
No, I'm exclusively worried about that.
He's always waiting. He's always worried about his rating.
Yeah, that's true.
How many
It's
likes?
a big part of this. All right, we're gonna go with. We're gonna go with the Three Amigos.
That is a wonderful choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not see that till I was much older. Like, I saw that in college, ironically. And I was like, what's this dumb thing? I love Steve Martin. And then I was like, this is amazing.
It's like the only movie my mother liked that was actually good, so we watched it a lot.
Man, it is. That is such a strong movie.
All right. Jeremy, you're up. You get 2 picks.
I get 2 picks.
2 picks.
Monty Python, the Holy Grail. And Uncle Buck.
Have you seen that recently?
Yes,
Does
I
that
have.
hold up?
It's fucking
I
hilarious.
actually thought about putting it on the list.
It's hilarious.
Not gonna get any strikes sitting there. Beat it.
Go downtown, take this quarter and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I haven't seen enough John Candy films. He's kind of one of those guys that I missed somehow.
He's about
I only seen a
80%
few.
hit and 20% garbage.
I like The Great Outdoors.
So
Great Outdoors
good.
was good. Okay, so we're back to me. I have to do this one. I don't think anybody else is going to pick it, though. So, trying to decide if I want to do best movies or favorite movies. I think it's favorite movies.
I think favorite movies is the point.
Yeah. It's hard choosing between these. I'm going to do Terminator 2.
That was on
Goddamn.
my honorable mentions list.
Were you a youth when that came out?
Yeah.
Really? That's that
Terminator
old,
2?
Mm-hmm. I saw Terminator 2 before Terminator 1. I didn't even understand the context. My dad had to explain it to
91.
me.
I was 4 years old.
Were you really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably, I mean, that's true, yeah. Because I was...
Were you a child when that came out?
Shit, man, I was like 14 when that came out. Jesus.
All right, Aaron, you're up.
Too many possibilities. We're going to go with Aliens.
Nice. Always good. All right, Parker, you got your last 2 picks.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with a movie I loved as a kid with my man. It was, I feel like, where I missed John Candy, I didn't get to see a lot of his stuff. I got every Kevin Costner because my dad was a huge fan. I'm gonna go with Dances with Wolves.
If you told me you were going to name a Kevin
Tatanka.
Costner movie and gave me 6 picks, I would not have gotten Dances with Wolves.
I love
All right.
Dances with Wolves.
All
Is,
right.
I think
fair.
it's his
I'm
best.
not saying you
Yeah.
can't like it. It's just not one I would have picked. I would have gone Waterworld, Postman, like so many other
I
ones.
like those too, but Postman came out actually much later.
It did.
Dances with Wolves came out as a kid. And the last one I'm going to go with is the one I alluded to earlier, which is I never should have seen it when I saw it because I was way too young. It gave me nightmares I had to manage, but I loved it anyway. Like, I watched it multiple times, and that's Predator, the original Predator.
Yeah, I let my boys see that when they were like 8.
Yeah, I don't know why my dad thought it was okay for me to see Predator, and I think I was 7. And I remember loving it. It's such a guy's film, right?
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
But
I ain't got time to bleed.
But man, I had nightmares about like the heat vision. I would imagine.
Invisible.
I would imagine the
Heat
heat
vision.
vision.
Invisible stalker
And
aliens.
yeah,
Yep.
it was the heat vision that got me. But
They
man,
can see you anywhere. How do you hide?
We're
yeah,
fucked.
it was.
Get an
Yeah.
ice bath.
Yeah, it was a really. But even I've watched it again as an adult, and it's fantastic. It's so much
It
fun.
is.
To
It's
watch.
so good.
It's
Doesn't have time
very
for bullshit, man. It's
No.
like action, monster,
Mm-hmm.
action. Done.
It's like that and Die Hard are like the pinnacle action
Yeah.
movies. Really, like there's just no nonsense. Like we're just action go.
But the pacing is also strong, and
no, it's Predator's really well put together.
the dialogue is not terrible. The characters are not terrible. Like there's definitely some hokiness in it for sure, but it's
There's
like
a lot of suspense too for an action movie. Normally,
Yeah.
actions there's not that much suspense.
it's very well. Another thing that the movie does amazingly well is like the soundtrack is fantastic. Like the score is amazing, and then the special effects were like there are not many movies made in 1987 that I watch and I can't and I don't blink at the special effects, but I don't blink
Yeah.
at the special effects in that movie. They look great.
Even the invisible stuff where it's like
Yeah.
clearly some dude just drawing in paint, and you're just like,
Yeah.
nope, it looks great.
It looks awesome.
Okay, we gotta move on. So, Aaron, your final pick.
Well, it can't be Blood of Heroes because I've already picked that one. So-
correct.
We're going to pick one you all can't even pick because of age and go Empire Strikes Back.
No, it's just you saw when you were a kid.
Oh. I'm still going to go
It
Empire
doesn't
Strikes
have to have come out when you were a kid.
Back. Okay. We're not going to overthink it and just take that one.
It's a good one. I had a Star Wars one in there as well, but I'm not going to pick that one.
I'm gonna save my opinions for later. There's no reason to start an argument now.
There's plenty of time for
Yeah,
that.
plenty of time for that later. All right. I feel like I would not be an honest person if this was not in my top 3. Tremors.
Dude, that's a good one.
This
Stampede,
movie almost
Walter.
defines who I am. Like
Stampede, Walter.
I could watch Tremors every single day.
Graboids.
It's-
You didn't even get penetration with the elephant gun.
No, dude, like
Wasn't
that
Reba
entire movie is
McEntire
just-
in
That was
Yeah,
Reba
it's Reba McEntire.
fucking McEntire said that line
Dude, that was awesome.
without irony. You didn't
Mr.
even get
Miyagi.
penetration with the elephant gun.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
Kevin Bacon.
No, the movie
yeah.
is actually like star-studded when you actually
It's
look
fucking
back.
awesome.
Like Kevin Bacon, yeah, so many good actors.
I
Anyway,
can't believe they signed up for it.
Jeremy,
Mine. Michael Keaton, Batman.
that was actually on my short list.
I have not.
I-
I could not say that because I haven't seen it in so long. I couldn't say if it
Dude,
holds up
it's
for
so
That's-
good.
That's why I didn't say it. I wasn't sure that it held up. Although I was pretty sure 1 did. I don't think 2 holds
2
up
does.
as well.
No,
me.
2
Oh,
does.
It
2
does.
I think is better.
Yes,
Even,
I've watched
right?
them with my boys.
I think 2 is better, but they're both great. It's just like how much campy versus like scary do you want?
Yeah, they both are really good. Like I watch them with my boys. My boys watch those all the time. At least they used to.
Mm-hmm.
But yep,
The thing
there
that
you go.
the thing both those did, but I think the second one did probably better is the gothic like
Mm-hmm.
interpretation.
It
of
felt
Batman.
like a whole new world. Like it literally felt like they built an entire city for that movie.
And Danny DeVito just did like the I mean, both of them, right? The Joker and Danny DeVito both just killed their characters, like, so good.
Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, like we joke about like bad villains in movies. It's like how in the 80s every villain was great. Like I don't know how we lost the ability to cast villains.
If you want to talk about a villain in Batman, Christopher fucking Walken.
Yeah.
In that movie, he is so scary.
Mm-hmm. That's actually one of my great regrets. I haven't seen a lot of Christopher Walken movies because by the time I was old enough to pick what I watched, he was like a caricature. He was a joke. So I haven't seen him in many serious movies. He was always just playing Christopher Walken. And so I think Batman was the first movie I ever saw him in. And then trying to think, like, I've seen Seven Psychopaths. He was really good in that. But like, I know there's some serious roles he's in, and I really just need to go see him.
Have you seen True Romance?
Mm-mm.
He fucking is awesome in that one, too. True Romance is an awesome movie. If you haven't seen that, whoever hasn't seen that, my God, that's one of my favorite movies that so many people have not seen. It was a written by Quentin Tarantino movie.
This is gonna. You want to know a movie that I love him in? He plays a tiny role, but he steals half the movie, and I love this movie. It's Mouse Hunt. Do you guys remember Mouse Hunt?
Mouse Hunt is great.
With Nathan Lane.
Mouse Hunt's amazing.
But he plays the exterminator. And he's like,
oh, really?
Yeah, he goes, you gotta think like a rat. He's like, and he's obviously just warped, you know? He like eats the feces. He goes, he's got a calcium deficiency. Like,
oh my God.
And they're just watching him like, this guy's insane.
Yeah.
No, dude, Mouse Hunt was amazing.
Mouse
As a
Hunt is
kid,
a great movie.
that movie was so good.
I haven't actually seen that one. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
You should take some time to watch it.
I couldn't put that on this list. It came out when I was a little bit older, but
it's definitely one of those like hidden gems. Like there's 3 freaking people in the entire movie, and it's amazing.
And before everybody freaks,
two guys in a house.
Before our listeners freak the fuck out, Goonies is still good. Okay, we're not saying it's not fucking good. Just everyone settle the fuck down.
I can't put it on my list. I haven't seen it when I was a kid or when I was an adult.
So Nigel, calm down. I can tell.
No.
Like, just chill out, man. I love it.
All right, so here's my to-watch list.
Yeah.
We've got Godfather, Scarface, Neverending Story, Goonies, Empire Records, High Fidelity, Point Break, Equalizer, Enemy Mine, Akira, True Romance. And what was it Ref? The Ref?
The Ref, yes.
The Ref.
That needs to go way up higher on that list, by the way.
Yeah,
you would like that. That's definitely your... Yeah.
No,
I remembered it, but I just haven't gotten time to watch it. Okay, any other immediate ads that you guys can think of? No? All right.
Do you... I have a honorable mention that I really want to add. It's the only animated one I have on here, which is Princess Mononoke. I saw that when I was...
See, I was too damn old for that. I was amazed, and I was an adult.
Right. Yeah, I saw that one when I was a kid. That was the first... it was one of the first anime things I ever saw, actually. Just like, it blew me away. And I remember going, maybe there is something to this whole anime thing. Maybe I might spend most of my life watching hours and hours of it.
Yeah, I was like,
sure my first
Jeremy
was
watches Ninja Scroll twice a week. Yeah,
I was watching that one a lot.
I have never seen Ninja Scrolls, and I'm going to keep it that way. I think I don't want.
That's probably a good call.
I don't want to go down that road.
It created a whole genre.
You've fallen victim to the throat needle.
So I've got my honorable mentions were Waterworld, Ghostbusters, and Back to the Future.
Okay, Ghostbusters is good.
Ghostbusters is very solid. Ghostbusters is one of those movies like it's just absolutely pure lightning in a bottle, and like you could never make that movie again just because it would be too campy. Like it's just they just exactly got the right mix. It was so good.
It was the Guardians of the Galaxy like lightning in a bottle type thing. Like it just should not have. But it did. It was awesome.
It's like Tremors. Like it's just it's so much better than it should have been.
Yeah.
And have you looked into? There's a special on Netflix called "The Movies That Made Us," and so they just go through and talk about like really influential movies of their time and like how they never should have happened and like all the amazing things about it. So apparently Dan Aykroyd is actually like super into ghosts and the occult and stuff. Like his whole family is like they're super like occult. And so he's got like all these books and like he was giving them reference for like all of the weird shit and like Doman's spirit guide and all that shit. They're like, yeah, like they believe ghosts have like a stronger resonance with these, and like he's just giving them feedback for like during the movie. It's like, Dan, we got it. like thanks, Dan. Can you just go sit over there?
Oh, Parker, Blue-Eyed Samurai. I have one episode left, and I'm saving it for a moment when I can watch it alone, and everybody shut the fuck up, and I can. It's so good. That show is so good.
Yes, it's 100% a show. And that's actually something I was talking to one of our listeners, Chris. We were conversing about it. He's like, I finally watched it because of the cast. He said I started watching it, and then you mentioned on the cast, so I'm continuing to watch it. And I said, whatever the fuck you do not watch it like people watch TV, which is put it on the background of anything, because it would be so much worse in the background of anything. It is.
Well, it does a great
it's a visual
disservice.
and story spectacle.
It's awesome. Just incredible. Yeah. Like I say, I'm saving the last episode because I don't really want it to be over, for one. And for two, it's worth just sitting down and going, I'm going to watch this and by myself and just concentrate on it. It's fucking good.
Yep. Like I said, best episode of television is somewhere in there. And I'll let you decide where it is. B-Dub, I made that comment, and Chris said, I know which one it is. Is it this one? I go, yes. And he goes, oh, okay. So I'm not the only one who noticed.
Yeah. Cool.
Hey, Jeremy, what day do eggs hate the most? Friday.
Friday. Okay. You've closed another door in heaven.
I know, right? These are so terrible. It's just like absolute torture.
I'm just glad that other people now have caught on and they do this to me when I'm playing in tournaments and stuff. It's something special at this point.
Yeah. So, like, you're a chef. So, like, what kind of music do chefs like?
I don't even know.
Walk and roll.
Walk and roll? Are you fucking serious?
And roll. I have to get rid
Where's the key grip? Punch that motherfucker in his face.
Yep. Sounds about right. Alrighty. Cool. Alright, we can get back to actually podcasting now.
Cool.
I don't know about you guys. I've been podcasting this whole time.
Oh shit, were you? I forgot to record.
I've been podcasting for a whole day.
I just leave it on.
I don't ever stop.
Sometimes I clap in the middle of it. Sometimes I don't.
Alrighty. Are you guys ready? Here we go. I wonder if anybody else knows if the Chungus is Kingpin or not.
The Chungus.
The Chungus. We called him the Chungus since the day he came out at the store.
Oh man, I don't remember.
The Chungus!
I'm not gonna lie. I have multiple times this week, I have gone back to our modeling page,
the hobby page?
Yeah, the hobby chat, to look at that Kingpin somebody modded from Spider-Man. Just like, he's like a black marshmallow on a base.
He's like the bottom half of Kang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my god,
just the bottom half.
He's so enormous and perfectly round and dark black. It's just
the Chungus.
Whoever decided to do that is a genius, and it just makes me
I
smile.
laughed out loud when I saw him in Into the Spider-Verse, and people are like, yeah, it's like the best art they've ever had for an animated show. And I'm like, oh, okay. I start watching, and they show Kingpin on screen. I just lose my shit. I almost start crying, laughing. I'm like, they said this was good animation. The guy looks like a fucking boulder.
Yeah.
He's like a rock that fell down a hill. Like, what is this guy?
Man, I made a huge mistake with my Kingpin model, is all I'm saying. Because I missed a golden opportunity to make him that. Man, it's good.
All right, well, we are way over on time, so we need to go ahead and wrap.
Do it.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
All right.